Hey guys, Toolman Tim here. Thanks for dropping by my weekly workshop, coming to you from the frozen tundra that is East Central Alberta, Canada. For those new arrivals to our community, the weekly workshop features a compilation of my content from the last 7 days, including, but not limited to, inspiration for would-be side hustlers and full-time giggers, tool and gear reviews, and finding financial and lifestyle freedom through entrepreneurship. And also, if you prefer your content of the video variety, you can find it all at toolmantim.co. Thanks for taking the time to have a listen, and with that, let's dive into this week's edition of the Weekly Workshop. Hey guys, Toolman Tim here. Welcome back to the workshop where we build business, create community, find freedom, and share success. It's Sunday night, which means it's time for another edition of Talking Tools, and it is absolutely a special edition this week. I pulled out all the stops, and it was time to get the most special guest that I could get. And that is my beautiful better half. This is Becky.
Hi, everyone.
So we decided I've been beaten back and forth. We took a long drive yesterday, and I had been trying to come up with a topic to talk about. And I really wanted to get into food storage. So I thought, hey, what better expert to talk about food storage than the lady who has helped feed our kids for 2 decades now? And it was actually her idea to come on and talk about food storage, short-term, long-term, and a ton of different tips on how we save money, how we store food, and the whole works. So, hey, who do we got? Oh, and there's Charlotte. Speaking of kids who get food, hey. So, hi, Charlotte, and how's everybody doing out there? All right, so I figured all of this really had its genesis, I don't know, maybe 3-4 weeks ago. We went through Walmart the other day, and what did the cashier say to us?
Oh, she asked us if we were a catering company.
Yeah, because, I mean, we went through and we did what we normally do. We went through and bought our groceries, but apparently what we buy for groceries looked rather weird to the lady there. And why was that? What were we buying?
Coffee, pop.
Wasn't just coffee. It was 6 pounds of coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a couple of cans of soup.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Yeah, we had how many cases?
Probably about 3 cases, maybe about 30 or 40 cans.
Yeah, I would at least. And pop, we bought half dozen cases of each. So
it's about 18 cases.
Yeah. So we had, So basically the whole idea was she looked at us and thought we were rather strange because unlike the normal average Joe who goes through and buys, 2 heads of lettuce and, 2 of absolutely everything they're going to need to feed themselves for the next week, we're at the point now where we stock enough stuff that we really only buy the sales, right, babe?
Yeah.
And so when we go, we can buy in bulk, which we love. So, hey, Joseph, how are you? Hey, hearing us good? It's a long distance phone call here all the way down to Oklahoma. So I got the missus with me tonight. But yeah, so we, like I said, what better expert to bring on than my wife, because we have been through a lot over the years and, things are a lot better now than they used to be. But for at least, longer than even just being out here, but for at least the first 10 years of our married life, we had every month on end, didn't we?
I'd say probably even like we were in the negative of dollars.
Honestly. Yeah. Hey, Ted, how are you? But yeah, so we were, weren't we? We would sit down. Of course, the kids never knew this, but we would sit and we would look and we would forecast out for 8 or 10 paychecks at a time. And we're like, okay, so if we buy just the bare minimum of groceries and milk and everything else for the next 8 weeks, we had the rug pulled out under us. And the only thing that got us by, and literally the only thing that kept us from going to the food bank, was the fact that we prepared enough food on our own. We stocked up enough food on our own. And, it was tough, but we managed to get by sometimes, didn't we?
Did.
Yeah. And
plus pride gets in the way too, because you never want to go to a food bank. Well, you absolutely have to.
It's true. Yeah. So exactly. So maybe pride was a big part of, wanting to make sure that we could always provide for our kids and always have enough food on hand, was simply because we're like, having buffering problems, Ted, on your end, or is it better now? Anybody? Just let me know. But yeah, just let me know if it is. And if there's any issues, hopefully it'll clear up in the recording, but it seems I'm getting everything picking up on my end pretty good. Everybody's comments are coming through. Looks like maybe we're all right, but yeah. So I guess when we first started, you know, one of the first tips we found when we wanted to start stocking up was, if you're going to buy a bunch of stuff, oh, hey, yes, see, there we are. Hey, Happy Hills. That's the Lots Project as well. So yeah, we watched your video last night on off-grid washer and dryer, washing clothes. So that was, I love that video. It gave me sore shoulders just thinking about it. But, you know, that was a thing that, you know, thank God we never had to do that kind of stuff. But, you know, we made our own homemade laundry soap, whole bunch of stuff. So, yeah. So back to this. First off, we had to have a spot to put it. And it didn't matter, you know, when we were first married, we moved around a fair bit, didn't we? Probably every 2 or 3 years, just for whatever reason. You guys know how it is. And whenever we moved into a new place, we always made sure we had somewhere to store things, didn't we? Yeah. So whether it was the laundry room, where I had a nice big shelf above all the laundry stuff to keep all your laundry soap, right, babe? Or whether it was, you know, down in the big old house we had a cupboard just for, what'd you keep in there that the kids made fun of us for all the time? We had toilet paper.
Oh, my toilet paper.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we would always make sure, you know, that we had enough toilet paper too, because there's nothing worse than running short on butt fluff or shit tickets, is there? You know? So I guess where to start? If you're very first getting started in stocking away extra food, and you know, this went back to before we were even married. We both, you know, we were both passionate about, I don't even know if we'd call it preparedness, but you were passionate about looking after yourself, and I was passionate about looking after myself. And yeah, the shit tickets. Yeah. That was Becky's dad's favorite name for it. But yeah, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. he had a good sense of humor, God rest his soul. But yeah, so anyway, we both came from, you know, different backgrounds, different things, but we both were always independent and tried to learn how to take care of ourselves, didn't we?
Yeah.
It was, yeah. And who would have thought that toilet paper would be worth something? Yeah, it was damn near currency last year, wasn't it? And I will tell you, this is not a word of a lie. We'll get into this later on, but we just finished up with some of the toilet paper that we had from before COVID started. So we usually tried to keep enough on hand for a year and a half, don't we?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, but it was never an issue for us. We had family members who needed to borrow or not borrow, but we would gladly give them some. So
we don't need it back.
No, we don't want. Please don't return it when you borrow toilet paper. That's important. So, so yeah. So like I said, when you get started, we all, you know, we brought different stuff to the game when we got married, and, you know, everybody has to start somewhere. And a lot of new people who are into preparedness or new family, anything, everybody thinks, well, I need 90 days or 180 days worth of food to have on hand. But no, you really don't. Baby steps, right, babe?
Yes.
Yes. So you start somewhere, start small. And, you know, what did we used to do with toilet paper?
Well, every time, like when you make your grocery list, just because you have a pack, it doesn't, like, you don't remove it from your grocery list. You just keep it on there and you budget for that anyway, because regardless, it's in your budget and it's already on your list.
So it really costs you no extra.
No extra.
Yeah, because you always budget for a package of toilet paper. And, hi, Pappy. So let's see. Said, just lived through and still in Ida recovery. Food check. Oh, food check. Water wasn't enough. Triple water rations without power in the humidity down here. Oh, my goodness. I always tried to be stocked up, but when I married and she brought 2 extra people, it turned into a must.
Yep.
That's actually kind of similar to us, isn't it? We have really, you just, all of a sudden you're like, oh my, well, we had twins. So we went from 3 kids who were just ready to be independent to 2 more babies along the way. So then it was stock up formula and stock up diapers and
baby wipes,
and
baby food,
make our own baby food. Yeah.
Yes. Making our own baby food. Yeah.
Yeah, I never even put that in the notes, but literally, yes, you know, we used to puree the food and then put whatever we were eating, we'd put it in ice cube trays, right,
yes.
babe? And then what would you do with it?
You freeze it and then you put it into freezer bags.
Yeah, big Ziploc
Yep.
freezer bags. That's
And
our absolute favorite.
Every ice cube is a portion.
Yeah, and it worked, and it allowed us to not have to keep special food on hand for the kids. And they basically ate what we ate, didn't they?
Yep.
Except it was pureed, you know? It was like if you're recovering from surgery or somebody punched all your teeth out, you pretty much had to eat it that way.
Well, and if you're ever in a desperate situation, you could eat it too.
I never thought of that, but that is true. I used to eat baby food in high school. I liked it for some weird reason. So I did that. I'm glad I'm not crazy. Which I got to ask Hunter, which part was that? The baby food tip is fantastic. Yeah. So you know what? We'll talk about it for a minute. It was awesome. Like, we did it with what, baby? We did chicken and turkey,
roast beef, any type of berries or fruit, like apples, pears, peaches,
squash.
I did turnip.
What was it that turned Allie's face orange?
It was the squash and the carrots.
Little Alice loves squash so much that her face literally actually turned orange from eating so much of it. Not because it stained her skin, but because, too
much beta carotene.
Yeah. And of course, we're good at over prepping, but I think we ended up, either composting a lot of that at the end, because we made so much, because when you have babies and twins, especially, you'd rather have too much than not enough. And it can, it definitely can wear you out, can it?
Oh, it does. Yes.
But, love my can opener, Tim, exactly the same as my old one. Yeah. So I think Ted's probably talking about the Easy Does It, I'm sure. And they are awesome. If I think of it, because we're talking about food storage and cans, I will try. Yeah, see, my baby was eating steak. So was ours. People always say, oh, I need to have all this special food. No. Just, as long as you don't cook it with a whole lot of spice, right, baby?
No, and I used to make just a bland gravy and mix it with the gravy instead of water, and they enjoyed it more.
Ooh, look at this one. So, Pappy, I don't know you right off. I should, but it says, thanks to your reviews, we have multiple Furman generators in our family. Multi-fuel options are awesome. That gives me cold chills. Thank you. That is friggin' awesome. I love hearing that. Introduce yourself, too. I would love to know exactly where you're from, or at least the general area, and kind of how you found out about us. But yeah, had the original. Yes, and it is awfully hard, Ted, isn't it, to find a made in America product that's reasonable, inexpensive, and would probably last the absolute, right to the end of the earth. It'll last. Like, they are good. But yeah, so all right. So we talked about the importance of having a space to store it. I know we'll be all over the place tonight because we love telling stories, but talk about the importance of having a place to store it, because what we found was, if you came home and your freezer was already full, well, all of a sudden you had to make some bad decisions, like, okay, I need to make room in my freezer. We need to throw something out. But if you know how much room you have beforehand, or you make extra room for it, you're not going to waste money, and you're not going to waste as much food, are you, babe?
No.
Yeah. So it definitely, make sure you have a space to start with. And then, like I said, it helped us avoid storage shortages. And so, yeah, we'll backtrack a little bit. We're back to kind of talking about just getting started. And for anybody who happens to be listening to this, say on the replay, or somebody that's just new and saw that, they're like, oh yeah, food storage is important. Like I said, baby steps. Like, what about Bob? Baby steps out the door. If you guys remember that ancient movie from the late 80s, early 90s with Bill Murray. Anyway, everything's baby steps. So start small. You don't need 180 days of shelf stable food with MREs. All you need is just, when you go to the grocery store, if you're going to buy 1 can of meatballs, buy 2 cans of meatballs, and do that every week. Buy 1 extra can of each item you're looking at buying, and it will absolutely get you started with a stockpile. What about Bob's Vintage? Yes, it is. And thank you, Ted. This camera was literally one that I bought just before I was going on the Survival Podcast this last time. I thought we were going to do a live interview. I ran down to my local computer shop and just picked this up. It wasn't super expensive, but with this black backdrop, it really makes the picture crisp. But yeah, so when we, once we kind of came into our own a little bit, I was working at the hardware store for a while. Food preservation became pretty big for us, didn't it, hon?
Yeah.
And we tried, because if you don't preserve things properly, then it doesn't matter how much money you throw at food, unless you're buying, a literal pallet load of freeze-dried Mountain House food from Costco. If you don't have a way to preserve the food, you're absolutely in trouble. So real quick, Pappy says, Southwest Florida. Hey, Ted, must be a neighbor of yours. Oh, West feature. West New Orleans, and did a YouTube generator search, and poof, there you were. Well, I'm glad I bet you found the one without my picture on the thumbnail, because if you'd have seen the one with my picture, it would have scared you away. So, but yeah, so we got into knowing how to preserve food, and I listed a bunch of different ones that we did. And you remember, hun, when I air dried the apples?
Yes.
Yeah, we had them. So when I was a little kid, my grandmother, she had a 2-story house, and it was like one of them old houses that had the attic just off the main upstairs, real tiny, barely tall enough for me to stand in. And she used to, yes. So you know what? Before I go into any of that, let's talk about this, because this is important. So Hunter, babe, he says, what about people on a budget? It's super hard to get any extra pennies when they actually count. Any tips on that? So literally for years, this was 100% us, wasn't it? And it still is, but
it was. And Hunter, we were on like an incredibly tight budget. We basically, like, our biweekly pay, like if it covered our power bill, it was, we were such on a tight budget. And with going to with trying to make your budget without breaking the bank, is there's always the clearance section. That was huge for us. And I would literally joke with Mama here that she has a built-in what do I call it? No, he follows behind me and he makes beeping noises like it's a radar for the clearance section.
Yes, I'm like beep 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 beep. Look, honey, there's a clearance. But I joke, but she literally, yes. So, but it is true though, because when you're on a very, very tight budget, even with buying clothing, and you can clothe 3 kids, and you can go to Walmart and find t-shirts for $1 a piece, I always would buy 2 or 3 sizes above, so that those shirts would last for a couple of years, hopefully, unless they had like a huge growth spurt. But if they did, then it would go down to the next child. But even with like the bakery, if you hit the bakery at a large grocery store, usually on a Sunday night, you can get pastries and breads that are like 50% off, and throwing those in the freezer, it doesn't hurt anything at all. And then you get canned garbanzo beans.
Oh yeah. No, they're not too enjoyable, but like also too, if you can always check, and I know in the States you guys have a way better selection down in your dollar stores when it comes to like foods. I know when we went to Vegas, the dollar store in Vegas was incredible. But like our dollar stores up here, you can stock up on canned items. We also have a store up the road. It's the bargain shop. They call it the Red Apple. And you can sometimes get things like right now they have a 4-liter thing of vinegar for 99 cents.
In Freedom units, that's 1 gallon.
Yeah. So basically, it's just basically knowing when to shop. And we always found that the Friday before a long weekend, if the Monday is the holiday and they're going to be closed, a lot of stores will clear out their meat freezers, because especially if the store is closed, they don't want to keep the meat on any longer than they have to. So you go in and you'll see a whole slew of 50% off stickers, and it's not even close to the date. They just stock up fresh on Tuesday. And the same with the produce, and same with the bakery. So those are the best times to stock up, when you like, especially before long weekends, holidays. Christmas holidays are the best time too.
And Happy Hill says, heavy harvest times at the farmer's market, great to buy extra at low cost and then preserve. So I literally, Hunter, I'm glad you asked this, because the very next section in our notes was 11 tips for saving money when buying food. So, and guess what? We literally, right down here, 3rd from the bottom, buy direct from farmers and buy big. So you are absolutely right. Now, I will say this was easier on the East Coast, wasn't it?
It was. And actually, and if you go up to even some farmers who don't even sell or have nothing, and you notice that they have an overabundance of something, like say they have a whole bunch of apple trees, it's nothing to go knock on their door and ask them, say, hey, do you mind if I pick a bag of apples? And most of them don't even know that, like they won't even miss it, because a lot of them just let the apples fall and then they use it for their livestock or their chickens or anything, and it won't even bother them. And you can also go and knock on their door and say, hey, do you have an extra, like, are you selling any pigs, or are you selling any cows? And sometimes, if you just like, just ring their bell a little bit, it like they'll clue in and be like, hey, yeah, actually, I was going to, maybe if you'd like to buy some, I can give you a good price for it. And the farmers are really good for that.
Relationships are important, aren't they?
Yes.
So quick story, you guys will like this one. Couple days, 2 weeks ago, I cut lawn for a guy who's a local butcher here. Incredible dude. And we were on the list for a side of beef. And he's like, Tim, you still want a side of beef? I'm like, well, I would love one. And he's like, well, I've got one that's been in the freezer for about 3 months now. Nothing wrong with it at all. But the customer just hasn't shown up yet. And he said, how does half price sound on that? And I said, that sounds like I'll be over tomorrow to pick it up. And so we literally just about filled our deep freeze again, because we're pretty heavy into keto and beef is important. So there's so many ways, isn't there? Like we used to, on the East Coast, of course, there was a lot more direct to farmer, a lot more produce was grown out there, even though we live on the prairies here now. So we, over the years, of course, you develop contacts and you find, certain times of the year that we can go buy the 50-pound bags of potatoes, right, babe? We used to put in an order for dirty potatoes, as they call them, storage potatoes. They'd be unwashed. And so it took us about 4 years of living on the prairies to start to find connections. But we have the Hutterites out here. And if you guys don't know them, they're like German Amish that use cell phones and cool people. Just, so we were able to buy in bulk. We bought carrots a couple years ago, right? Bought about 50 pounds of carrots and we canned them. Now, you need to have a pressure canner for this. And we'll talk about that a little bit if we don't run too long tonight. But
that's going back to with the Hutterites, we wouldn't even have known unless we had asked.
Yeah, right. And I literally drove out there, didn't I?
Exactly. And because a lot of farmers won't advertise. So you have to go out of your way and you do have to ask.
And Ted wants to know what your YouTube channel is, Becky.
I don't have one, Ted.
No, but we may just have to have her start one eventually. But so just this winter, we're looking at creating a little more content. And we're thinking about doing either a second live stream or a second episode of the podcast where her and I talk about this kind of stuff quite often. And, if I can pull her away from the microphone once in a while, we might just try that. So, but yeah, so why don't we work through our tips? So the first one I had there, baby, was shop the sales. What does that mean?
Well, like the clearance sales and it sounds foolish, but if you're in a bigger center and you have access to a whole bunch of different flyers, what I used to do is read all the flyers and you always price compare. And a lot of the stores will match the price. So if you're going into one store, they will match the price from the other one. Sometimes they don't, but sometimes they do. And always price shop and always compare. And especially when you're looking at and know your sizes too. Because a lot of stores will put something, we found that out, remember, with, it was the dollar store. Remember, we were buying corn from the dollar store and we thought we were getting the best deal out there.
Right.
And then we compare it to the size.
And it was about 2/3.
It was about 2/3 of the size. And sometimes Walmart will do that as well.
Yeah, they get special items.
Items, and they're special sizes, and and it kind of fools you because you think you're getting a good deal when you're actually not.
They make the math hard to figure out because they're like, up here everything's in milliliters, but they're like, yeah, this is 284 milliliters for $1.17, and you're like, how do I even figure that out? But yes, we always shop the sales, and with apps, it's gotten easier too. Like we have Reebee and I forget the other one right now. Reebee and Flip. So you can literally go through there and make your grocery list off the app, which has been good to us, right?
And coupons are great too.
And so the next one was buy from the clearance section. And we literally were at Walmart yesterday, and you know what? We didn't pick anything up, but we literally went by the clearance section because it was just there, didn't we?
Yes. Nothing that we were after though.
But sometimes you can find Costco will do the same thing just because it is Costco. Who has my notes? Somebody has my notes, Happy Hills, because that's literally down here further. Costco for some stuff. That is very important, isn't it, baby?
Yes, for some stuff. Now, and one of the big things, I don't know if it's so much with, I know with being a mom and shopping for us, it's just something in my brain. I always memorize the price of items.
She does literally
I have a hard time letting the prices go, but I find when you go into Costco and you look at like their canned items, are definitely not a very good deal. It seems like you're getting a good deal, but you're really not. Like, because you're getting a huge pack of it. But when like the tuna was awful, the price comparison of the tuna and the baked beans and the alfaghetti and all that, they were not good in comparison to buying a single can from Walmart.
Yeah, we've probably been Costco shoppers for about 5 years, right, babe?
Maybe I love Costco.
And we do. We spend a lot there, but we spend it on certain things. We buy the toilet paper, we buy laundry soap. Now, we will say the other day we went to a Costco business center and they sell literal like 5-gallon buckets of molasses. Like, it was incredible. And we bought enough spices of a few things. We bought garlic powder, chili powder. We bought probably about a 3-gallon bucket of chicken base. So we're set until the apocalypse for spices for some things. And they were a good deal. But like we said, canned goods, I think, are the worst deal at Costco. You look at those flat packs, you're like, well, that's not bad. Well, you know what? You can pick them up at Walmart on regular price, individual cans for that price. And when they're on sale, they're cheaper, aren't they, babe?
They are. And I find sometimes Costco sales, like they're there to get you in, but sometimes they're not the greatest.
And Hunter says sizes are becoming a problem here in Dallas, Texas. The price doesn't change, but instead of 6 chicken breasts, there were only 5. Inflation's getting real. And one thing that we found a couple of years ago, we bought our chicken breasts at Walmart, and they were always $10 a pack, weren't they, babe?
They are. They're 11 now.
Yes. So of course, our prices, our sizes are in metric, but so sorry about the kilograms, but it's just easier. But so they were a flat price of $10 a package, and they would run between 0.8 of a kilogram and 1.2 kilograms. So we would always flip through the chickens to find the biggest packages, so we'd save our money. But then all of a sudden one day we went in and they were $11. So now what they do is it's $11 individual, but if you buy 2, it's $20. So we always bought 2 anyway. Didn't bother us, but for the poor person that only buys 1 package, well, there you go. It's not good, right?
And I find all the weights are similar now.
Oh, yes.
They're much like they're on to us.
They're on to us, I'm sure. We didn't put it on the internet. We didn't tell anybody, but, and yes, talking about saving money, Ted literally got a $279 Makita kit today for free. Just a computer glitch where it was anyway, it was really cool. And yes, Ted, shrinkflation, I'm going to put that comment up here in the live stream, guys, because it is true. Shrinkflation, I've never heard it called that before, but as soon as you put it up, I knew what it was. Do you remember when, was it?
The canned apple juice.
Yes, it went from, Clarence is my best friend at all stores I visit. It's true. But yeah, the canned apple juice went from 2 liters to 1.7 or whatever it was. Anyway, and the thing was, all the companies did it at the same time. There's no way. Yeah, Ted is the king of finding crazy good deals. I wish he could figure out how to get the Canadian thing to work for me. But yeah, so you can't tell me there wasn't something going on, because literally the store brand stuff and every one of the different brands of apple juice all shrunk at the same time, didn't they?
And they're doing it with the cheese slices now too.
Yes,
It used to be 24, now it's 22.
22, yep.
And the price has gone up.
Yeah, price goes up, or even if it stays the same, it sucks, right? Yep. But so we talked about clearance, we talked about beef, but at one time, our literal deep freeze, there wouldn't be a package of meat in there if it didn't have a 30% off sticker, would there, babe?
Nope. It all did. And I did find, but the problem with that too is like we found the issue that we had when we would buy and buy and buy and buy. And then all of a sudden we realized that we'd had too much. And then we found out that we were throwing out more than what we were using, because then it would get freezer burnt and it would be at the bottom of the freezer. And it would get so, iced over we couldn't even tell what it is sometimes.
It is true. And since we started buying from a local butcher, the fact that it's wrapped in the freezer paper seems to have a longer shelf life, doesn't it?
Yeah, and we noticed, and we came to the taking it out and putting it in freezer bags, and
yes,
and that was worked out better for us, and it kept longer as well.
Yeah, we do that. Hamburger's a big one. If you guys, this is a tip I learned from her dad years ago, but if you buy hamburger in big packages, we would take sandwich bags, Ziploc sandwich bags, and I always put a big ball of hamburger in there. And he's like, no, Tim, you're doing it wrong. Don't do it this way. Do it this way. And he was a chef, so I had to listen. But you put the 1 pound in the freezer bag or in the sandwich bag, and then you push it out so it's flat, like a square, fills the whole package.
And it stacks nice.
It stacks nice. You're evacuating all the air. It freezes and thaws quicker. and it was less prone to freezer burn. So he was a smart man, I'm telling you. And it was a great tip. I loved it. And we've done it ever since, haven't we?
And it's less chance of the bag ripping in
Yes.
holes and everything.
Yep.
Too.
And you know what? One thing, a lot of people are really hot and horny about the vacuum sealers. And I saved up my points when I worked from home. We had these, I forget what they were called, but they were special points for sales. So I ended up buying one with my points. It was about $200 for free. And I like it, but we just, honestly, most of our stuff never stayed frozen long enough to justify the cost of the bags, did it, babe?
No, the bags, well, it's kind of like when you're buying a printer. The ink is like 3 times what the printer costs.
And it
right?
gets expensive, you know? Pappy, you are right. So, quick story. My first job after I graduated university, I had the prestigious opportunity to work the night shift at a Dairy Queen. And we had there was a big push in my province where I grew up for minimum wage to go up. And you know what happened? Minimum wage would go up 10 or 15 cents an hour. And every time minimum wage went up, my bosses would come from out of town. They were about an hour and a half away. And they would show up early in the morning and they would raise every single menu item 10 to 15 cents every time. That was more than the minimum wage went up. It's just a big cat and mouse game, like whack-a-mole. It doesn't work, you know. But so we talked about knowing the price of everything. You literally,
Yes.
Shop from a list. We talked about that a little.
Yeah, always make a list. I always made my lists according to the flyer sales and based on what we need. And don't ever add to a list of things that you don't like, you're not going to eat just because it's on sale, because there's no point. You might as well use the money for something that you're really going to need. And one big thing you forgot to put is you never ever shop when you're hungry.
Oh, I shouldn't do
Never.
anything when I'm hungry. Don't be around me when I'm hungry, or either of us, right? But yes,
Yep.
that is true. Never put that as a list. But if you are on a budget, the worst thing you can do is shop when you're hungry, because everything you see, well, we need that, and it'll be good, and it'll taste good, and we'll eat it right now, you know? So
Well, and mine is, I'll just eat that in the car.
yes.
I could eat that in the car.
So Hunter, yes, you're right, says I use my vacuum sealer. I'm going to bring that one up here too, guys. I use my vacuum sealer for dry goods mostly. Thicker bags help with the rice. And you know what? So I'm going to talk about this a little later on too, but we've been lucky to have our older kids have worked at fast food places and grocery stores. And what ends up happening is one day my daughter brought home a 20-pound bag of dry milk that had broken. She's like, I knew my dad would like that. And what did I do? I put it in one bag, a Ziploc bag, and then inside that, I put that in a vacuum sealer bag. And I just opened my first one of it yesterday. It's been 2 years since I vacuum sealed it. And I used it for making a dry ranch powder mix because I didn't want to go to the grocery store. I thought I'm going to make that. Anyway, as good as the day it was sealed. So yes. And then Happy Hills, he also said flat 1 pound. Let's bring that one up. Flat 1 pound packs of ground beef and venison normally fill our freezer. And then went on to say game changer tip. Game changer when I learned that tip. And it's true. You know, the simplest, stupidest little things. You know, when I was a bachelor, I would pack my hamburger in a 1 pound ball and wrap it in tinfoil. And that was the worst thing you could do because everything I pulled out, well, anyway, it stunk. It tasted bad. The whole works, you know. How about restaurant supply stores, babe? That was always one of my things, wasn't it?
Yeah, I find they're okay for large bags of frozen vegetables. I found meat was a little bit more expensive.
Mm-hmm. And dry goods sometimes, if you're looking for 50-pound bags of stuff, it was good. I remember one time years ago, we went looking for, they had a really, really good deal because sugar is one of those things that, you know, even when it's on sale, you basically know the bottom barrel price. In this restaurant supply store that we found one day, literally it was lower than that. And so we bought a bunch and it was good. And we've got one about an hour away from us. And we went in and it was okay. It didn't blow us out of the water. The veggies were good. But, you know, it's always worth exploring those places because you might find that they have one item that's a loss leader that you can buy every time you're there because that is the cheapest place that you can buy it. And then another tip was, of course, buy direct from farmers and buy big, right, babe?
Yep.
We would buy 50-pound bags of potatoes and can them. We loved our canned potatoes when we were non-keto, didn't we?
And kids love them too.
Yeah, we would just literally drain the water off, and fry them in butter and salt and pepper, didn't we?
Yeah, or you can drain the water off and you can put them on a cookie sheet with some seasoning, and you have baked potato wedges.
I forgot
And
about that.
the kids just love them, and they can take them to school lunches and everything too.
And another one, when we were, I wouldn't say really hard up, but another really good tip in the area I grew up, baiting deer was 100% legal. So you could buy drops, carrots and apples to bait your deer. And the apples made incredible apple cider. And hey, Chicken Hawk, how are you? And the deer carrots were like a quarter the price. And all they were was the funky, deformed, smaller carrots that didn't matter. And so we bought them a couple of times, didn't we?
Yep.
Sliced them up and either froze them or canned them. And they were awesome. I mean, anytime you can find a way to save money in a certain way, it really worked. Another one I put was, and this should go without saying, but learn how to cook from scratch, eh, babe?
Yes.
It's always cheaper, isn't it?
It is. And in that category too, you can always put like cooking stews and soups.
Mm-hmm.
And we did that a lot with the kids, and you can freeze them in individual containers, and they work good for lunches for school, or the next day when they're at home, or if you need to take lunches to work, they work really good for that as well.
And when we make soup and stews, we usually make enough for a small army, don't we?
Yeah.
Yes, and you're absolutely right. Turn it into venison, and you could. Although the hunting where I grew up was pretty scarce. Now on the prairies out here, you can pretty much have your pick of deer.
Well, you're not allowed to bait out here either.
No, that's right. Baiting's 100% illegal out here. But so when I tell people, we tell people that we used to bait out there, they look at us like that's a cardinal sin. But when your longest shot you'd take would be 50 yards and it's thick woods, you did what you could, and it was legal. And also we hunted rabbit out there, and they look at us like, rabbit, man, that's a disgusting prairie animal out here. But my dad grew up dirt poor, and their favorite food was rabbit stew, and there was rabbits everywhere in Nova Scotia where we grew up. So,
but the rabbits out here are like twice the size.
They're massive. Yeah. Oh my God. So yeah, chicken of the trees. So Ted says that down here would be Florida, for anybody who doesn't know Ted, we eat iguanas, and we call them chicken of the trees. Would you eat iguana, hun?
Probably not.
No.
You would.
I would. Yeah. We've got a grill here called the Fireside, and they have exotic meat, and I've tried a couple of them. But yes, Ted, I would try iguana. I'm crazy. I eat things like kippered herring. My dad sends them out to me. They're like sardines. They're baby mackerel that have been smoked and oiled. Oh, and they're so good, aren't they?
No,
you love them, don't you?
No.
So I think our 11th tip on saving money is buy items even if you already have them, right?
Yeah.
And that went with our toilet paper, because the kids would always laugh. They're like, but Mom, we have toilet paper. Why are you buying more? Well, now they know, because now they live on their own.
Well, they don't laugh at me anymore when they come knock on the door and they're out of toilet paper and they need some.
Mr. Cornelius, wild game is all we eat with the exception of chicken. Kipper snacks, Fint. Yes, they are incredible, aren't they? But hey, Ken, it's nice to see you. Hopefully you get a good connection tonight. But yeah, so wild game's awesome. We did a lot of it. I just don't have the time to hunt so much anymore. And that was something I'll deal with a little bit down the road, is knowing how much your time is worth. Because a lot of these projects that we get into that we say saves us money, we end up spending more time doing it than the money it's saving us, when we could go out and maybe invest in our entrepreneurial venture and make enough money from that to buy 4 times the amount of food. So, and also I am, I'm big into learning new skills. So you can't put a price on learning a new skill for sure. Hey, there's Saul's. How are you? He said, let's see what this says here. He says, I live in Missouri, and our neighbors keep all kinds of exotic animals, small things like cows. Oh, I read that without a full stop there. I thought, I was like, cows and chickens don't sound very exotic, but yeah, I'm just better armed than they are. Yeah. Yeah. So they're, we've hunted some here on the prairies, and
but we found with, like, out of our 5 kids, there's only one that'll eat venison
that really enjoy it. Yeah.
Besides you, of course.
And part of that's because they didn't grow up around it, right? Like when we were really young, we just didn't. Hunting license, equipment, time. Exactly. So talking to my brother-in-law about this the other day, and they, a lot of people They love hunting's their passion, and I'm cool with that, and I get it. But it can be the most expensive meat you'll ever get. Thousands of dollars on guns and ammo and a hunting truck and your licenses and the gas and on and on and on, the travel, and that's okay. If that's your passion and it's a hobby, great. Now, if you're lucky enough, you can stand on your back doorstep and get yourself, an elk or a moose or a deer or a bear or a porcupine or whatever, great. But if you can't, you got to figure in exactly what Happy Hills is saying. Hunting license, equipment, time. It's all true. And that all has to figure into, is this worth are we actually saving money, right, babe?
Yep.
And so now we put a bunch of notes together earlier. Tell me about it. Time invested into building this chicken coop. How many chicken coops did we build over the years, babe?
Oh, tons. I used to love having chickens. I miss having them, actually.
We do miss them.
Yeah.
And Happy Hill says, porcupine. My uncle did that to his wife one time. Didn't tell her. Cooked up a porcupine. She said, honey, this is the best roast I've ever eaten. And he said, it wasn't real prickly or anything. Oh, no, it was good. And afterwards he told her, and he's like, she liked it. And after that, she ate it. I got to say, I have never had porcupine.
No.
I think actually they're protected from the story I've been told in Alberta, unless that's just a wives' tale, because they're literally the only animal you can walk up to, hit with a club, and eat it. So they don't want you to do that. But yeah, anyway, I would try it. I'd have to dequill it first, of course. But so some random thoughts that we learned, eh, babe? What's the first one there?
Where am I reading? Oh, random.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
sorry. Well, with the expiry date, I used to work at the pharmacy in Walmart, and the pharmacist, like with the medications, that was one of them. He said that medications lose their potency 10% every month after their expiry date. So that's like if you can get medications on sale, that's also a good thing. Like 6 months after they expire, there's you might have to take an extra pill with it, but it still works, and that does help.
Oh yeah. Okay. So Ted just said, yeah, thank you, Ted. You didn't need to do that, but thank you. I lost my place in my notes. Here we go. Yeah. So we hate to say that, but I think you might have said, yeah. Anyway, sorry. Cool. Oh, that's even better. I didn't know about that. I'll look into that after. So, expiry dates are more of a suggestion. That's the word we're looking for. Yeah. And we're not saying go out and eat expired mayo and stuff like that.
But like it's just basically using your common sense. If you open something up and it smells rotten, then you just don't eat it, right?
You're allowed to use your common sense? Is that I didn't know that was legal anymore. I thought common sense was not so common anymore. So it was but yes, yogurt, that's one thing. I eat yogurt 2 months. Well, I don't eat yogurt now, but I used to eat it like 2 months past the expiry date, because you open it up and the worst it is a little bit of water on top. And something that you taught me when we got married was sandwich meat, as unhealthy as it might be, sometimes it freezes really well, doesn't it, babe?
It does, yeah.
So is a lot of times if you can get sandwich meat that might be on sale, so you can buy 10 packs for the price of 4, we'd buy 10 and we'd throw it in the deep freeze and it would stay, and then we'd thaw it out and we'd make sure we'd eat it up quick, because you didn't want it sitting around for weeks afterwards. But it would work, wouldn't it?
It would.
So then the next tip we had was make the most of your trips out of town. So if you're like us and you don't have, we don't have huge grocery stores here, do we?
No.
So it's like an hour's drive to go out of town. So you want to make sure you plan. If you're going to take a long road trip, you want to make sure that you know the best stores to shop at and the stores with the best deals, right, babe?
And that's, again, using your flyers and you compare shop.
There's a good one. Ted says, if in doubt, throw it out. See,
exactly.
You guys are all full of useless, top-notch information, right? But no, it's true. If you pick up a can and it's bulged at the ends, we are 1 hour from every, right? Yeah. And I wouldn't say that. We do have a grocery store in our town. Like we're a town of about 1,500 people. So we're not in the middle of the boonies, but any reasonably sized center is over an hour away or an hour away,
It
right?
is, yeah.
So, you know, any Walmart or, well, Costco is almost 3 hours. So, and we love going there. But yeah, so like Ted said, when in doubt, throw it out. If it's bulged, if it's dented, if it's rusted, if you open it up and it's a can of carrots and it fizzes when you open it,
Probably not a good idea.
yeah. If you open it up and there's mold growing on it, throw it out, you know?
And another tip too with the farm eggs, I always float them.
Yes. Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
So
if I just got them the same day, I always float them, because sometimes we always had the issue with our hens where you get one that's extra broody and she likes to sit on everything, and or they get crazy and they start laying everywhere, and you go out to collect them and you don't realize that you might pick up an egg that's been there for a week or two and you don't realize it. But and there's nothing worse than having a whole frying pan of eggs and then all of a sudden you crack one and it's rotten. So if you float them, it's actually that's a time saver as well.
And what else do you do when you're baking with your eggs?
I crack them into a bowl.
And why do you do that?
Just in case you get one that has blood.
Yes. So another money saving tip, if you've put all your ingredients together in a bowl and you're looking at baking something from scratch, and then all of a sudden you crack an egg and it's rotten or it has a half, developed chicken in it, you've ruined everything. But if you crack it in the bowl, all you've ruined is a couple of eggs, right, babe?
Exactly.
Or dump them one at a time even, right?
Yep.
But yeah, so Soul's here. He says the one most people overlook is water. You can live without food for a bit, but you sign your death warrant without water. A water purification kit is key. And Souls, you are absolutely right. Excuse me. What did we buy this year, baby?
A Berkey.
A Berkey. And I got to tell you, I didn't put a lot in here about water because I figured we'd run long because we're pretty good experts on food and saving money. But the Berkey, man, when I do my top 10 preparedness items for 2021, yeah, I almost lost the year. That will be my number one purchase I made this year. That was, you can literally take puddle water and go out and see it's incredible. I love the thing, and it was awesome. And here's another tip to save a little bit of money. Search Berkey Scratch and Dent. Of course, it's a little different in Canada and the States, but we found a company out of Saskatchewan that sold a scratch and dent one, which is literally, there's nothing wrong with it, is it?
Nope.
And it was 20% cheaper. So definitely, crap. Which one did we buy?
I'm not sure.
I think it's the big Berkey. I'll let you know. And what one do you have, Happy Hills? Because ours is the one that holds about 2 2/4 gallons. So if anybody knows what that, okay. Thank you, Robert. I always call you Souls. I know. Yeah, I'll try to remember. I'm bad with names at the best of times.
And a good tip with the Berkey too, if you know that there's some bad weather coming your way, one good thing that we used to do is we used to fill the bathtub.
Mm-hmm.
You fill that up, and then you can always take the water out of there to fill the Berkey.
I did that on Y2K thinking the world was going to end, and I got lucky. So, but yes, it was. The Berkey has been a game changer for us. We used to go and we would. I guess the biggest thing that saved me is I used to go to the gas station. They had water filters. You could fill 5-gallon jugs there for $1.50, right? I think so, it is. Yeah. And I would fill 6 or 7 at a time, and then I'd lug them to the basement and then lug them back up. Well, now I just have one 5-gallon jug cut in half. I got a black mark on it right where I need to fill it. And I just fill it in my sink and dump it in. Saves us time and money. So it was cool. And so what else do we have? This one was good. We talked about it a little bit before, but know the time and day, the time of day that your store marks things down, and also know the best time of year to buy things, right, babe?
Yep. Like Thanksgiving and Christmas, there's always a sale on the stovetop stuffing and the turkeys. And you always get a really good sale on potatoes and yams for canning.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. I forgot it. Yeah, we've done that before. And sometimes the stores will end up buying way too many sweet potatoes, and you can go in the day after Thanksgiving and get them for like 19 cents a pound, right, babe?
Yeah, and they did that with the corn too.
Yes. Yeah, we loved canning corn. So go in after the best. I had a video on my Growing Your Handyman Business series, and the best time to buy seasonal stuff is at the end of the season. And it's the same with food. If you're willing to put a little bit of work into it afterwards, whatever's left over after the holidays is always going to be cheaper. So yeah, like you said, yams, we tend to buy, because turkeys are the cheapest at Thanksgiving, 3 or 4 turkeys, and we put them in the freezer, don't we?
Yep.
And they last. Like, we've eaten turkeys that are 2 years old sometimes, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yes, there's always a sale. You are right. Yep. And yes, Chicken Hawk made a homemade one out of 5-gallon buckets, but yeah. Anyway, the stainless steel one has been really good. And Happy Hills, I love that t-shirt idea. And I may just have to print that. Do you see it?
Yep.
Been prepping since Y2K. Honestly, that's probably where I got started. I was 19 at the time. So just old enough to understand, but still young and dumb enough to not completely care. But I bought a case of bottled water and I filled the bathtub and I thought I was set. So, you know. So I thought we would, in case you guys wanted to know some of the crazy things we did over the years in the name of saving money and trying to be more self-sufficient, we put a bunch of them together too. And maybe you guys have tried some of these, maybe you haven't, but we raised 2 pigs probably 8-9 years ago now, right? 8 years ago now, at 22. So we're about the same age. So we were, I wouldn't say broke, but we didn't have a ton of extra money, did we?
Well, we had just bought the house.
Yes, we had. And so we got 2 wiener pigs, didn't we?
We did.
Yes. And this isn't the healthiest thing, and I would not recommend this per se, but we fed them on about a 98% restaurant diet. So I would go around on Sunday mornings and I would bring garbage bags with me and I would fish through all of the compost bins from the restaurants or Tim Hortons. If you guys don't know what Tim Hortons is, it's like a Canadian staple. Most of you do.
It's like a Krispy Kreme.
It's like Krispy Kremes or Dunkin' Donuts. And I would find full bags of donuts. And we did really well. The meat was awesome. But we raised them for almost nothing. And I was able to get free produce, seconds produce from the grocery store until they put the kibosh on that because they figured somebody was going to sue them. But it was fun, wasn't it? You know? And then do you remember the time that I tried to preserve eggs in lime water?
That's because you got that idea from your dad.
I did, yes. Yeah. And I don't know. I'm not even sure if I don't know if we ever actually ate any of them. But
no, I was too scared.
And because we heard it could give them an off smell, an off taste, you know. But yeah, the third one, and this one wasn't too crazy. But remember when we learned how to make tortillas?
Well, and that could go along with making. With kids. Every Sunday, I would take the whole day and we'd make tortillas, muffins, pancakes, waffles. And I called them toaster pancakes and toaster waffles.
That's right. Yeah.
So they would have their breakfast ready in the morning because sometimes we would both be off to work and we had to depend on them getting on the bus. And it was just basically them pulling it out of the freezer and popping it in the toaster and wouldn't have to worry about them turning the oven on or burning the house down or anything.
Yeah, because, you know, even at least we knew what was in them too, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, the store brand waffles and stuff, they're pretty cheap, but they take up space and just everything. And we really did. Well, you especially, we would do a ton of those quick foods for the kids to eat in the morning. They loved them, didn't they?
Well, and we did it mainly because of our oldest with his ADHD. We were more food controlling his diet.
Yes.
Instead of medication, so we could keep control. So a lot of homemade stuff that didn't contain what was it, the red dye 40.
Yeah, absolutely.
And anything like that, we were able to control what was going in the food, and we found that it was a healthier choice for the kids too.
How many goats did we have? Was it 4 or 2?
We had a mother goat and 2 babies.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
So when we were first married, we had an enormous vehicle. Do you guys remember the Dodge Neon? I don't think they came any smaller, but we literally, when we went to a lady's farm and we bought a mama and 2 baby goats, and we honestly considered putting them in our back seat of our Neon to take them home, but she offered to deliver them to us.
Well, because Precious had those great big huge horns and we thought she was going to smash through the window.
Yes. So we brought them home and I learned how to milk goats, and we made, was it rennet cheese or whatever?
Paneer cheese.
Paneer cheese. And we made mozzarella cheese, and we made goat's milk soap.
And actually, our oldest, our son, he loved the goat milk.
That's right.
And he was very, very underweight, and we found it was really good for him.
It did. It helped a lot.
And he was able to digest it, and he didn't have any issues with his lactose. And
And with that big beast of a car, the Dodge Neon, we used to go to, talking about buying groceries, we used to go to the grocery store and we would buy 2 weeks worth of groceries. We'd have 3 kids in the back seat, our little dog Manny, an entire 2 weeks worth of groceries, and 3 or 4 bags, 50-pound bags of chicken feed
on the kids'
laps. And we would make them. Yeah, it was incredible. Well, I don't know. You know, we tried, didn't we?
Yeah.
It's the alternative. I can't say, you know what I mean? We're not anti-drug by any means.
No, not by
You
any
talk about
means,
it, baby.
but a lot of like years. Well, Mackenzie's going to be 24 this year, so back when he had the issues, basically the only drug that they would give him would be Ritalin, and we noticed it was causing him to lose a lot of weight, and it was he was very, very unhealthy, and we found that it wasn't helping him at all, so we decided just to take him off it, and we did more diet control with him, and we found that it worked, and we would limit certain foods, like we found like Kraft dinner.
Oh my
Kraft
goodness.
dinner
Yeah.
Yeah, like it was kind of like a trial and error, like kind of like you sit him up and you give him a bite of something to see if he, like, you know, bounces off the ceiling with it or not. But it was Kit Kat bars, Kraft dinner, Reese's peanut butter cups, you know, anything like that he wasn't allowed to have. But anything natural that we could give him that would help him put on weight and still maintain his behavior, so he wasn't, you know, driving us crazy or driving his teachers crazy. And then we didn't have to worry about the bad side effects of the Ritalin, which made us feel really good about it.
Because he had, remember, it gave him sunken eyes and he was depressed. And
yeah,
it was just miserable.
Yeah, it was he was not in a good spot, and he was only 8 years old, so we couldn't do that to him.
And we're not saying that it's not an option, and I'm sure there's lots of better drugs today, but for us, that worked. We really didn't keep him on it long, did we?
No, but now, like with ADHD, I think there's probably at least 40 or 50 different drugs out there right now, and so.
But our first choice would probably be to start on diet, and
it was.
Yeah, it always was, and it still would be, wouldn't it? Although we're done having kids.
Oh, we're done, definitely.
Yes. Although, hey Chris, how are you? White North Forge. I want to say, guys, I think we just broke a record for the most concurrent live people in here. But anyway, that was awesome. And Hunter, you said, I'm glad my wife isn't listening right now. She doesn't need any more motivation to bring home a goat. So,
Hunter, your wife needs a goat. Goats are wonderful.
Oh, smart.
No, they really are. My sister has an acreage, and I keep trying to talk her into getting a goat. They are wonderful. And if you get them right from babies, like, you can bottle feed them and you can raise them, and they're just like dogs. I had a huge one on my parents' farm. His name was Murphy, and he was wonderful. And he was the friendliest goat ever, and he would follow me around, and I could walk him on a leash, and he was probably about the size of a deer. But he was so friendly, and he was so sweet, and of course, once you get them fixed or castrated or whatever, then they're even better. And it's just, I don't know, I love goats, and I love my chickens too.
Who would get the call at work and say, honey, can you come home right now? The goat's across the road in the cemetery. Or I don't know where the goat, they're escape artists, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Well,
and they were fun.
We did, but if you stake them properly and you have a proper pen for them, they're happy, and they're cheap lawnmowers.
They are, well, although they don't do nearly as good a job as you might think. They're fun, but yeah, they eat some. And Happy Hills there, right quick before I forget, he said, we used to get 800 pounds of chicken feed in a Mazda 3. So you feel our pain. I get it. Yeah, we never had a truck. We did have for a lot of years, we had a Dodge Grand Caravan, and I would haul thousands of pounds of stuff.
Oh, the Caravan was great.
Oh, I had anyway, we can go into that forever. But and then Happy Hills says, great job, guys. Way to listen to your gut and try diet changes. And it worked, you know.
Yep.
Hunter says Dallas, Texas, postage stamp city renting. Okay, good. Well, then if your wife comes home with a goat, and I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
Just a little pygmy one.
Yeah. Maybe an electronic goat. Maybe there's an app on her phone you could get her that would be, a goat.
Actually, the ideal one would be one of those feigning goats.
You do like those.
I love those goats. Yeah.
Let's see what we had. We learned at one time how to use a wood cook stove. We learned we made goat's milk soap, which I said different types of cheeses. This one was fun, and I actually, Happy Hills, I think your missus talked about this the other night, but we used to make homemade laundry soap. We've kind of gotten out of it. It worked, but we weren't super happy with it, right?
No, well, I'm extremely sensitive.
Yeah.
And two of the kids are extremely sensitive, and we can't use Tide or Gain or any of that stuff. So when we made our own stuff, it was okay, but then I got the brilliant idea to add essential oils to it.
That's right.
And then
different
we couldn't use it anymore. But so we just stuck with one laundry soap. And I find we use Purex, and you can buy the 220 load Purex from Costco, and it's a great deal.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
one cool tip, something we learned, and you guys might know this, but when you make homemade laundry detergent, it usually calls for an ingredient called washing soda. It may be more available where you're from. We couldn't get it anywhere. However, if you take baking soda and bake it in the oven, and I don't remember exactly how to do it, it literally it turns baking soda into washing soda. It chemically changes it. So we were able to do that and then make our homemade laundry soap. And it worked out pretty good.
It did.
And Happy Hill says minivans are a great farm option. They are.
They are.
A lot of the Hutterites use them. They have
Yep.
15 passenger vans too, which are great. Ted says, I'm jealous. I'm going, whoops, oh, I lost it there. I'm gaining all the weight that you've been losing. Oh, well, I'm telling you.
Hunter said that she came home with chickens.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Yeah. Yes. Where did I miss that? Oh, she came home with chickens. Okay. Yeah.
Chickens
absolutely.
are awesome. I miss my chickens every day. I wish we could have them here. I raised them right from babies, and they were my babies, my roosters. I named them all, and I'd go out there. I used to go out there and holler at them, and they'd come running, and I could pick them up and carry them around. And even my gigantic rooster Spartacus, I could carry him around the yard like he was a cat. It was great.
And used to feed him a lot of times
spaghetti noodles.
If we were exceptionally poor that month and we didn't get out to buy their feed, or we just couldn't afford it for a few days, we would cook up a lot of noodles, right?
Noodles and rice, but sometimes it was just an enjoyment too.
Yeah, we like
spaghetti noodles and watch them run around.
And now we have Chihuahuas that, we can't milk them. We don't get eggs from them. I guess they're guard dogs, but they're the sweetest little bitches you're ever going to find. I love the things. But Happy Hill says, great tip on washing soda. And if you have access to lemons are, hang on, let me bring this up here. If you have access to lemons are a great alternative to laundry soap. They ionize particulates and allow for easier separation. It would be tough. We're set in our ways now, but we'll try. I would be willing to try something and Happy Hill says Purex is a good one. We found that was probably the best.
Yeah.
To not, because a lot of us, I get rashes and reactions to a lot of, Yeah.
And we find it's the most gentle out of all the ones we've ever had.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
What else? We said we used to freeze muffins, cookies, pancakes, waffles from scratch. This is a good tip. If you guys have a small army, we had 5 kids. So, and maybe this is right on the borderline of ethical. I'm not sure, but so the local drugstore would have really good deals on things like tuna, but they would have a limit of 4. And the lady who works there was very anal about it.
Oh my goodness.
And you would go in and you try to buy more than 4 and she wouldn't. So what we did was we went over and all 5 of us would go in one at a time. And I'd give, the girls were only 4 or 5 at the time. I'd give them a $5 bill and I'd say, go in and buy 4 cans of tuna. And they'd be like, I'd like 4 cans of tuna, please. And the lady couldn't say anything. And so we'd end up getting 20 cans of tuna. And it was a great way to save money. And, another one we did one time, and this was completely inadvertent, but we have a Canadian Tire here, which is, I said, it's kind of an original store. It's like a big box automotive. Anyway, they were doing a grand reopening and my girls wanted to go with me. So we went and waited in line, and I didn't expect this. I went because they were giving away these free 2,000 candle power flashlights. They were like a spotlight. Yeah. Chris says he does it too. Good. We're not the only ones. All right. So we waited in line all morning. It was like 2 hours waiting in line, and my girls were less than 3 and they were all over the place, but it was fun. And when we got up to the door to go in, they handed me and my adult daughter each a flashlight, and I'll be darned, they handed both of my 2.5-year-olds flashlights too. And they thought that was the cool, remember?
Yeah.
They just thought
they were so proud.
They were so proud. Yes.
Yeah.
Happy Hill says, we have no kids, but 3 St. Bernards and a St. Bernard Great Dane mix. Rather feed Bill. Oh, yeah. Well, it is true.
Yeah.
2 St. Bernards. And so Hunter does it as well. And Chicken Hawk, he has his girls, or a couple of his girls.
I don't feel so bad then.
No, he used to do that with the free items for Harbor Freight. See? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So kids are good for something. And if Charlotte, you're still in here, I don't know if you remember that, you were awfully little, but she comes in and listens in, and she liked the flashlight too. But Alice was, remember how excited Alice was?
She slept with it.
Yeah, she did. She thought it was pretty cool. Let's see what else. Another one we tried, and we didn't really succeed a whole lot, was we bought a bunch of the kids liked gummy snacks, like them absolutely junky gummy snacks you get at Walmart. So we decided to make some of them on our own. It was a lot of work, and it was okay. It worked.
It worked.
Yeah. 1 year, couple of years, we tapped some maple trees for syrup. I didn't have a way to boil it outdoors, so we boiled it indoors for hours and hours on end. Ended up getting like less than a gallon of syrup, and we used it on an electric stove. So
Yeah.
yeah. Free is my favorite 4-letter F word.
Yeah.
That's go. Oh, I like that. I have a 4-letter F word I like quite a bit too, but free is very important.
Yeah,
so,
I hear it quite often when he's building things,
yes, you do. I have other words I use too, but I keep them off the channel, you know.
Yeah.
But, another thing we used to do, we lived right on the Atlantic Ocean for a few years. We would go down, me and the kids, and we would catch fish, and then we'd can them, wouldn't we, hun?
Mackerel.
Mackerel. Yeah, we'd go down, catch mackerel, and then we had a pressure canner, and we would can them and leave them on the shelf, and it worked pretty good. I mentioned the kids working at grocery stores, and one of our daughters worked at Subway, and quite often she'd get extra meat, extra bread,
Yep.
and we'd find ways to store it, wouldn't we, babe?
Yep.
Let's see. Yeah. So another thing, when we were first married, you'll never see this price again, but we, how much did we pay for ground beef on our honeymoon?
99 cents a pound.
And how much did we buy?
100 pounds.
Yeah, it was 100 pounds. We bought 100 pounds of ground beef on our honeymoon for 99 cents a pound. And that wasn't that long ago. At least doesn't seem like it was, does it?
No.
Yeah. And then tell them about what we did on the 2 weeks I took off when we got married.
I think it was like 2 days after the wedding.
Yeah. You went and got it really expensive gel nails.
Gel nails after the wedding. And it wasn't mainly on us. It was mainly your father. He's so impatient and he couldn't wait any longer, but we used to do meat birds and he just couldn't wait anymore. He had to come out there, so I ripped all my gel nails off so that I could pluck chickens.
Yep. She's out there and she's like, that's it, these damn nails are coming off. And there she is pulling all these gel nails off so she can help pluck the chickens better. So I knew right then and there I married the right lady. What else do we have? We put, always keep a lot of Ziploc bags on hand. We could probably reuse them more, but we don't.
No, we don't.
But they're incredible. Like we use them for storing everything. The big freezer bags we use.
Well, that's one of my subscriptions on Amazon is the freezer bags.
Oh, you know what? We'll probably do an entire episode on Amazon subscriptions, won't we? I did a video a while back, but it would be a lot better to have the boss in here to talk about it. And then I put, we always purge often, right? What we just did the other day, didn't we, babe?
We just did the freezers. Yeah, and we don't actually throw out a lot of the food now. We, with the 3 older kids here, we distribute the food.
Yes,
so
we do. Yeah, so if we have stuff that we're like, I don't know if I'm going to eat that or not, we pawn it off on our adult kids because they don't have, I shouldn't say pawn, but, they don't have as much money. And if there's stuff that we're thinking, we may or may not eat that. Or again, when we went keto, we a lot of the carb stuff went to the kids. They
stored a lot of stuff.
Hunter says Amazon subscriptions. I'll wait for that. Yeah, it is good. And I see you guys talking about printed shirts too. I would love. I'm not quite there yet, but if anybody has recommendations on that kind of stuff, we're going to do some shirts eventually. But yes, we'll do a whole episode on our subscriptions. We'll talk about it. And we don't have. I know I always bemoan living in Canada. We don't have quite as much stuff we can subscribe to up here, but we still do pretty good with it. But I'll just tease it at that. We'll do another episode on that down the road. But we used to do huge gardens.
Yes.
Again, we got to the point where we talked about you have to know how much your time's worth, right, baby?
Well, and that was like last summer. Or was
we did some
before?
Above ground ones.
Yeah, we did
year.
the above ground, but like the labor of building those above ground gardens and and I had planted everything and we got a late frost and it killed all my tomato plants. So then I had to replace everything. And then I tended them, I grew them. They grew, what was it, like 6 feet high, those tomato plants. And I don't think I got any yield out of them.
We had a bad year. It was a horrible year, just horrible.
And that was my last gardening year.
Yeah. And then we're like, you know what? We don't have enough space. I not making excuses, but unless we wanted to get really intensive with growing, we live in a town lot. We don't have the space to grow a huge garden here anymore. So we decided we are going to invest our time in our entrepreneurial ventures, make the money that we need, and turn that into food, right?
And when the kids were younger too, they were, with all of them home, the four girls were huge veggie eaters, huge,
Yes.
and they would just go to the garden and pick the peas and the beans off the plant and just eat them out there, and it just seemed more worth it. And now it's just
We don't eat vegetables anymore.
no,
We don't. Like, it's
no,
almost every single night it's steak or chicken and salad, right, babe?
yep.
Yeah. And my cracky, I've got it tore down right now. It worked good until I let it overgrow and it became a huge mess.
Yeah.
But we did get some really good lettuce out of it, didn't we?
We did, and then we just
And then I let it go to seed by being a lazy ass. But
Yeah.
it worked good.
We won't go down that.
Oh, it's all right. We got two full runs out of it really well. And then I lost interest in it because that happens sometimes. But I probably will get it back up this winter and we'll get some more lettuce and it'll be fun. You can buy a lot of food for cheap from Hutterites. Yep. Chris, I know you come in late. I actually talked quite a bit about the Hutterites earlier. I got some interesting stories from them, but yes, we've bought carrots and taters, potatoes and carrots last year from them, right?
Yes, and they do sell turkeys and chickens.
Let them do the work. Ain't that the truth? Yes. Happy Hill says, let's bring this guy up here. I love using 55-gallon drums cut in half, one tomato or pepper plant per top or bottom. Super easy. That is true.
It is. And actually, last year, my mom had the great idea. She did a pallet garden. She's 67 and she lives by herself. And she took some pallets and then put them on the ground. And then she put dirt in between the wood. And that's how she did her garden. And it actually kept the weeds down. And it was easy for her to maintain because she could kneel on the pallet wood, which was awesome for her.
Military. Is that the, yeah. So another fun story about this, but my daughter is huge into MREs and
our 11-year-old daughter.
Yes, Alice.
Yep.
She's not on here tonight. Her twin sister was Charlotte earlier, but for about 2 weeks straight, we opened up a different Canadian military MRE and opened it up. We have a bunch more, and I'm actually thinking we may do a video on a couple of those, just on one of the weekend workshop episodes, because she loves them. They're a lot of fun, and man, if that doesn't fit preparedness, I don't know what does. But they were cool, eh? Some of them.
Actually the ones that we just bought her, the MREs. She wasn't
yeah.
too happy with those ones.
They were actually they're an aftermarket product. I think they still supply the military, but they don't have official military branding on them. And they just weren't as good, were they?
No, she didn't like them at all.
The Canadian ones were a lot of breakfasts.
The IMPs.
Yes, IMPs, individual meals portioned or something. So
she loved those.
11-year-old daughter into MREs is absolutely fantastic. I try to talk her into doing YouTube videos on it. She hasn't yet, but we will do an eating, even though it's got carbs in it. We'll do one, just a taste test, but it's a lot of fun. And also, real good tip, the heater that comes with it, you need to take it out of the plastic bag before you heat it up, because I threw it in there and night, Charlie. She says she has to go. That's our other daughter. But yeah, so I put it in there one day and we waited and never heated up because it was in a sealed bag and I forgot to open it. But yeah, Pappy says, let's bring this one up here. Oops, I missed it. There we go. Kiddie swimming pools on clearance make great beds for onion toss, parsley, strawberries, cucumbers, etc. That, man, I love that.
I'll mention that to my mom. She wants to grow strawberries.
We use them for something for our dogs to stand on. They won't play in it when there's water in it, but as soon as you empty it, they'll flip it over and stand on it like little idiots. So, But your mother would like that, you know?
No, she would.
And I guess real quick, we got a couple minutes yet, but we were going to talk a little bit about keto storing food, how things have changed for us since we've gone keto. And the biggest thing is that almost everything shelf stable is full of carbs, isn't it, babe?
It is, yeah.
So, number one, we still do store some of that because, if the metaphorical shit ever did hit the fan,
it's not going to stop me from eating beans, right?
No, we're gonna eat something with it instead of eating nothing. So we still have a lot of that, not as much as we did, but we moved into more freezers. So we have 3 freezers now, and we have a really good freezer alarm system because, man, when you have a couple grand in beef, that's more than stock. Sometimes, you keep them in your deep freeze. So we need to make sure right?
And last night we had a power surge and didn't even know it.
Yeah. Woke up this morning and a whole bunch of things were all off. And so, you need to have that. And then Of course, you guys know I love to talk about generators, but you got to have a way. You know, I got a thing for generators. Did you know that, hon?
Yeah, just a little one.
Just a little one.
Yeah.
You made me sell one. I had 3. She made me sell one. So now I only have 2. But yeah,
getting me to help you lift that big one in the back of the truck.
I've told that a few times. My guts are going to have a hard time if I have to switch back to a carb heavy diet. Hunter, that is true. Now I got to say, we did fall off the wagon for about a month. I wouldn't say fell off, but we kind of
not hugely.
No, but
because
we did slide into some more carbs, and it is rough on your gut. It's tough, you know. So
yeah, I found it more rough on this, like not so much my stomach, but on my joints and my.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? It's people don't understand it, but I live and love keto. Bacon, bacon, bacon. I do too. Although I only eat one meal a day
I don't
now.
like
so
bacon.
I know you don't, and you are weird for that, but that's okay too. But and then the other thing is store-bought canned meat. And not everybody loves all of it, but I got tuna and sardines and canned ham and spam and chicken. And then if you don't have one, a pressure canner is incredible. And don't be intimidated by them. They're not bad, are they?
No. And we actually found the canned chicken from the dollar store was the best.
Yeah, it was canned chicken breast.
In the red can, because you had bought that one from Costco. And
it was drier or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, it didn't have any flavor or anything to it.
It's okay. So I've been overweight my entire life, and my favorite meal is my next one too. But keto has absolutely worked, and this isn't a preaching about keto thing. It was just I wanted to talk a little bit about how our food storage had changed since our diet changed a little bit. But between us, it's been 190 pounds, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's worked. But canned venison, absolutely. A little bit of salt in there works really well. But yes, if you're into, we may even do an entire canning bone broth. We talked about that. And so bone broth is strange. Try fatback or salt pork. Makes the best gravy for breakfast. Oh. But bone broth, the only bone broth we've had a lot of experience with has been the store-bought stuff.
And I'm not a huge fan
of it. And it's bland as all get out. It needs, So I think we will do an entire episode on pressure canning as well, because I love it. It's been a lot of...
Well, you just lent ours out.
I did. Yeah. So here's a funny story. I'm at the hardware store the other day, my favorite hardware store, Home Hardware, and they got awesome crew there. And I see a lady and she's buying mason jars. And so I automatically get excited. And I noticed the elderly lady, she has 2 cases of wide mouth and 2 cases of regular mouth. Now, me being the standardized guy that I am, I have to standardize everything. All of mine are standard size mason jars. So I speak up and I'm like, ma'am, I don't want to interfere, but I said, you realize you got 2 different types of mason jars there, right? She goes, oh yeah, thanks for telling me, but I want to go with 2 different sizes because I want to get my carrots in there. And she says, we're just learning how to pressure can. And I thought, oh, well, this is cool. What pressure canner did you get and all this? And she's like, well, I don't have it yet. It's supposed to come from Amazon, but I got a message today that it's going to be 2 more weeks. And we got all our carrots and everything. And I didn't know her from Adam. And I said, you know what? I got one at home. You can borrow it. She's like, well, you don't know me. And I said, well, we're in a small town. It doesn't matter. Anyway, turns out I knew her husband really well. Thanks, man, for dropping by. I know it's been a good conversation. I always love having you here. So anyway, I turned out she's the wife of a plumber who I do a lot of work with. So I knew her anyway, but I didn't know it. So she has that. She was so excited. She almost cried. And that, I had to tell you the story, didn't I, hon?
Yeah.
It was awesome. But yeah, we've never canned bone broth, but we vacuum seal and freeze bones and bring them out when ready. We might have to try something.
We have bones in our freezer.
We've got a whole bunch of beef bones, and it was just, it was awesome. They came with this last batch of beef we got, but yeah. So, that was, we covered a lot, didn't we?
We did.
I know we talk a lot and share a lot, but I love it. And maybe we'll do a second edition of this, because we made a living out of saving money on food, didn't we?
We did.
And
we still do.
We do. You know what? Just because things aren't maybe quite as tight as they used to be doesn't mean we don't still live the same way, do we?
No, I do an order every month for Costco toilet paper and laundry soap and bounce sheets. And I have a good stock up, but also I get the kids that come by probably once a month and they need toilet paper, laundry soap, or bounce sheets.
And they shop at mom and dad's house, don't they? But that's okay. We enjoy it. And yeah. So Chris, just out of curiosity, how come you don't can bone broth? Just because it's not something you do, or is there a reason for it? I see you vacuum seal and freeze the bones, or maybe you just didn't make the bone broth. I'm not sure, but You can save the scrap veggies and bones in a coffee can in the freezer and then make bone broth when you have enough. So, okay, maybe it's just a bad experience we've had with it, but do you guys add salt to it? Because two things we found with bone broth, right? What did you say?
Greasy.
Greasy and bland. Do you guys find it's greasy? I know it needs to have that fat in it, but has anybody had an issue with it being greasy or bland? Because that was kind of our thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But so yeah, I like that. I was saving scraps in a coffee can in the freezer for my worms as well. Best live stream ever. Got to bring back Becky. Well, we've never had a good tasting broth. We've never had good tasting broth after a few months. Okay. Well, that's good to know. I
wonder if more salt would help.
Yeah. I mean, salt always helps everything. I love salt, right? And that's one thing I like about keto is they encourage you to have more and more salt and electrolytes. So that's good. That's awesome, babe. Best live stream ever. Salt and hot sauce. Yes, you can't have enough hot sauce, can you? You know what? I think Chicken Hawk and I need to do some sort of challenge, some kind of spicy thing, because we both like the really spicy stuff. And I think we'll come up with something maybe for Christmas or the New Year's. But don't forget to smash that like button, y'all. Yeah. So you know what, guys? We are at 1 hour and 20 minutes, and I think we're going to wrap it up. It's always good to wrap it up on a high note. We've gone through all our notes. My voice is starting to fail me a little bit. And yeah. What do you think, babe? Did you have a good time?
I did.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, sounds like you guys don't mind having her back. And thank you so much for dropping in, guys. This was the best live stream yet. I loved it. Tell all your friends. Smash the like button like Ted says. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and what? Have a great week. Good morning, guys. Toolman Tim here. Welcome back to the workshop where we build business, create community, find freedom, and share success. It's Saturday morning, which means it's time for another installment of the weekend workshop. And this week, well, my wife and I just traded in our old red Dodge for a new gray Dodge. And what do you do when you go to trade in a vehicle? You clean everything out of it. So then we get this nice new vehicle, new to us, that was completely empty. And I realized I'd been driving around for 2-3 weeks without my emergency kit in there. So I thought it was time to do an audit of my emergency kit and time to put it all back together. And I thought, what better way than to force myself to get this done than to show you guys what I use and how I do it. So hang in there. Guys, real quick, if you're new here and you want to know more about who I am, you can always run by toolmantim.co. You run by there, you'll find all my social media links, find the monthly newsletter, the weekly podcast, and the shop, where I have recommended products that I have used. They've made me money or saved me money in my handyman business, solutions to a whole bunch of problems. A lot of cool different categories there. We got household, we have hand tools, we have painting, we have preparedness items. So run by there, check that out. Anything you pick up through Amazon on those links helps to support the content I create, which I appreciate. Okay, so I told you guys we got a new vehicle. Anyway, we bought it. It only had about 6,000 kilometers on it, sorry. And after about a week, I went and, they got those key fobs with the little key hidden inside. I went to open it up. Turned out the dealership had never cut the blank. And they only sent us one electronic key. We're supposed to have two. So you can imagine, one of my biggest preparedness tips is to always make backup of keys. So anyway, I was up in the city where we bought it from the other day, and I forgot to stop to the dealership to get a second key. And would you not believe it? But the very next day, my wife was coming back from a trip. She stopped into her sister's house and locked her damn keys in the car. $70 later to a locksmith. There you go. So that is what happened. So automotive preparedness is absolutely essential. Get yourself an extra, well, two things. Number one, you want to have an extra ignition key because it's way more expensive to replace your entire ignition and have your whole car computer reprogrammed than it is to buy yourself one extra key or two extra keys. Then get a door key cut and hidden somewhere on your vehicle, just in case. Because that way, if somebody finds a key, all they can do is open your doors. They can't drive off with your vehicle. So anyway, that being said, you guys saw my grab-and-go bag recently. That's the bag that we take with us if we're going on long trips, if we're going somewhere, even if we're going to a hotel for the weekend. We know that all of our stuff is in there and good to go. Now, what happens if, say you're away from the house and you need to bug out in your vehicle, or say you're just absolutely got to run to the school, pick up the kids and go. Never thought to pack anything else. Well, we have a pared down, bare bones, essential grab and go kit that always stays in the vehicle. Something that'll get you by for a few days. You might not be as comfortable, but it's something you never have to worry about, just in case you get caught away from home unexpectedly or you have to drive away quick. So I'm going to show you what I keep in my vehicle. There's a couple items I don't have with me right now, but I keep them in a couple different sections and segments. Those new trucks have some cool storage totes down in the bottom. It's a Ram 2021, but they just don't have a ton of storage space. So everything you store is either something that's cramping up your existing space or takes away from something else. So just keep that in mind. So the first thing we do, this kit here is our absolute bare bones essential, can get us by for a couple of days on the road somewhere, you know, showering at a truck stop or something. This is the bag. It goes into one of those reusable shopping bags, and then I wrap it up with painter's tape. Nothing comes in, nothing goes out. Maybe I'll check it once a year. So all we keep in that, socks and underwear, a couple of pair for each of us, just in case. You know what? We can rewear the clothes, but you feel a lot better with a new set of gitch and a new set of socks, hey? So socks and underwear for me, the missus, and the two twin girls. Shampoo and soap, because if you're on the road, there's nothing worse than having to use soap or shampoo that you don't normally use, or worse than that, not having any at all. And then just in case, we threw in some extra throwaway shampoos that you get from the hotels. And then this guy right here. This has kind of a bare bone breakdown of what we would need in an emergency. We've got deodorant for both of us, another bar of soap, some feminine products, chapstick, because that's important, a disposable razor, Q-tips, and 5 days worth of prescriptions. So we just took 5 days, threw them in there, sacrificed them to the preparedness gods, and keep them in this bag. We've got toothpaste in there as well, a couple other toothbrushes, and that is basically it. So that, all of that goes into this blue IKEA bag. I hate IKEA myself, but hey, whatever. Oh, and a hairbrush for the ladies, because, well, you know, I don't need much there. All that goes in here. Then we push it down, wrap it up, and stash it either in the cubby hole or under the seat, depending on what's needed, what kind of space it is. The new truck is basically the same, except it has a new flat fold-out board for storage, which is really kind of cool. So that is kind of the bare bones grab and go that always stays in the car. Most of this does, but that's the thing that'll get us by just in case. Now, a couple other things. I wouldn't necessarily call them life and death emergencies, but sometimes out here things can't be good. So we keep 4 bottles of water down in the cubby hole and some sort of snack. Now these aren't keto friendly, but in a pinch something will work. These are granola bars. So with us, things get cold, things get hot. I normally keep, say, some nut and fruit trail mix down in there as well. I just didn't have any when I was putting my bag together, so I thought granola bars would be better than nothing. Keep all that down in there just in case. There's nothing like a drink of water, especially if you're dry, it's a hot day, or, you know, just a snack or something to nibble on when you're nervous, or to just boost morale, just in case you happen to be stuck in a ditch somewhere, if you can find a ditch on the prairies. But that we keep. Just absolutely something that'll get you by in case things go a little sideways. A while ago, and of course, one of the concerns with everything that I have is freezing. And yeah, it's up here when it gets to minus 40, sometimes that's just what it is. So you got to kind of figure out, if you're driving, your car's warmed up, there's a good chance your water might thaw out a little bit. It might not, but that's the chance I'm going to have to take, because there's only so much room for what I can keep in my truck. But I got these 99 or 95% alcohol sanitizer wipes, so these stay unfrozen in theory, no matter how cold it gets, something to wash and clean yourself up with. Also something we keep down in the cubby hole. This is probably the item that I have used the most, other than my booster cables, for my preparedness items in the car. And that's a roll of Costco toilet paper with the center taken out, squished down, and thrown in a large Ziploc bag. That sits there till it gets down to about half, then I add another roll to it. Nothing worse than getting caught short on the side of the highway somewhere and having to run out in a farmer's field and needing to cut up a shirt or rags for doing your business. So don't forget toilet paper. I know some people never want to lean against a tree, but I am telling you, toilet paper is an essential preparedness item. Sanitation, whatever, right? Then we keep a can of sunscreen. We keep a can of bug spray, which I forgot in the house, but I get the Deep Woods 35% DEET. I know a lot of people hate that stuff, but man, that works for the Alberta bugs. Pair of gloves, just in case you got to do something dirty. I've already got it packed in, but I also keep my plug kit that you guys have seen me talk about quite a bit lately. Keep that in the vehicle. Now, I don't personally have a vehicle inflator that I keep in the car all the time. I do need to get one. But I love my DeWalt one so much that anytime we're going on a longer than 2-hour trip, I throw that underneath the seat. It's just really big and takes up a lot of real estate. So I definitely need to get one of those. But when we're taking long trips, the DeWalt inflator comes with me. Speaking of DeWalt multi-tool, that's a pair of pliers and a knife all together, plus a bunch of other things. I use that all the time, probably the third most often item used in the car. iPhone charger, we also keep one of those in that bag, I forgot to mention. And this is one that I don't keep sealed up in that bag because when it gets cold, you need to charge it more often. So I try to check on it once a month, but that's an Anchor battery pack. Some extra juice just in case something happens. You're sitting in the car and you have absolutely no power whatsoever. And then also, whenever we go out for wings, I try to keep myself clean and then save the wipes. I love these little individual packages. Open them up, throw them away, you're done. And then we also keep, just in case we're traveling, some of these pre-packaged forks, knives, and napkins. They're just really nice, self-contained. Because what I end up finding is, say you throw in a bunch of disposable napkins and a bunch of disposable knives and a bunch of disposable forks, well then they just make an entire mess in your bag. But if they're these little Chinese-style takeout, all-in-one wrapped-up kits, at least they stay contained and together, and you never know when you're going to need a fork, especially when we travel, but we just keep a bunch in the car. Sound like an old man, I know, but you never ever know when you just might need some cutlery. Flashlight, always important, even though you have one on your phone, never hurts to have one. That one's on flash there. I don't want to show you too much, but there you go. Nice strong LED flashlight in case you got to walk after dark, just something else to keep you going. An absolute essential up in Canada. Now, I normally just keep, so this is -40 stuff. You can switch out between bug and winter up here. Now, I always keep an extra jug of this under the back seat because there have been so many times over the years when I was less prepared. I'd be on a long trip somewhere and I'd run out of windshield washer middle of the night or middle of the highway, and it's like, oh, what do you do? So now I just keep the -40 stuff under the back seat. In the summer, yeah, I'll put the cheaper bug stuff in the actual reservoir, but instead of having to switch it in and out all the time, I just keep the -40 stuff there because if you haven't lived in a cold environment where your windshield can ice up like that, this stuff can be absolutely essential and a life-saving tool sometimes. So never get caught without one of those. One other tip that I've got for you, it's one of them do as I say, don't not as I do sometimes, but I do try to keep an extra windshield wiper underneath the back seat as well. I don't have one for this new truck yet. I'm going to add that, but also be comfortable with changing out windshield wipers because you never know if you're in a drop dead. Of course, they're going to break when you need them because you're using them and that's when they break. But if you're in an awful downpour of a storm and you end up breaking a windshield wiper and you're 50 miles from the next gas station, it'd sure be nice to be able to pull over on the side of the road, change that out in 2 minutes, and be good to go. So, another tip. Now, these guys right here, I'm not going to lift them up. These are heavy. These guys take up the most real estate of anything, but they are worth it. Those are you've seen me recommend these booster cables before. Those right there take up their entire under the floor cubby behind the driver's seat. But I use them more often for other people than I do for myself. But when you have a good set of booster cables, these are 25 feet or 30 feet long, I can't remember. They're one gauge. They're never going to melt. They're never going to heat up on you to the point where they're unsafe. And you can boost somebody by being parked behind them with your four-way flashers on. So say you got to go out, you meet somebody on the interstate, and you need to pull up behind them, boost them. They have no hazard lights. you can park behind them with your hazard lights on, run your 25 feet of booster cable up to them and boost them while parked behind them, keeping them safe, keeping you safe. But that is absolutely the item that I use the most, maybe. I've probably said that about 4 things. There's about 4 items in here that I use all the time, and then most of them are just in case. All right, so I hope that kind of helps. I'm going to pack all this up. I'm going to take it out to the truck, put it in its spot, show you where we keep it, and then we'll wrap up. So I'll show you where I keep everything, just to give you some ideas. The items that we grab the most, along with a tape measure and a pen, of course, my multi-tool, my flashlight, my wipes, and my cutlery. Keep that all in the front armrest because that's the type of place we need to grab and go with it. Now, come around back. This new truck is a little bit smaller for space. Not super keen on it. They got this flap thing in here, which, I don't know, I think it's for flat storage and whatnot, but so we're able to get the blue flat pack bag down there. Had to put the wipes there because this guy is a little bit tight, and he'll absolutely fit. So just push him down in, and put that down so we latch, and we're good. Set it and forget it. Squeeze. I think these bins are maybe just a little bit smaller. Now there is a liner in there that I could have taken out, but that's okay. So these come down now, which is kind of cool. And I always find, even when we used to pack it down, there you go. Once you put the heavy seat on it, it's fine. So there are the booster cables made to just barely fit in there, I think. And then it's just a matter of shutting the whole thing off. Oh, I hope you enjoyed this. I enjoyed it. It was a way to force me to get this done because I'd been procrastinating for a little bit and I really wanted to show you guys what it is that we keep in our vehicle. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week. Good morning, guys. Toolman Tim here. Welcome back to the workshop where we build business, create community, find freedom, and share success. It's Monday morning, which means it's time for another money-making minute. And this week, I want to talk about a tire plug kit, how to use it, what to get, and is it worth it, and do they work? All right, guys, if you're new here and you want to know more about who I am, run by toolmantim.co. That's toolmantim.co. You'll find my social media presence, the monthly newsletter sign up, the weekly podcast, and of course the shop where I showcase over 100 different Amazon products that I've used in my business that have made me money or saved me money. So if you're looking for a solution to a problem, run by there and check it out. All right, and of course, one of those products actually happens to be one of these tire plug kits, something that I use on a regular basis. The fact that I've only got one plug left in this kit should show you that either I chew them for bubble gum or I actually use them, and in this case, I use them. So I had to plug my daughter's tire the other day, and I thought before I did it, I'd get her to record so I could show you the process if you've never done one before. And I thought quickly we'd run over what comes in a tire plug kit and what the hell these things even are. I hadn't even heard of one up until maybe 5-6 years ago, maybe 7. Anyway, I had to make a trip across the country and I thought, I know what I need, a tire plug kit. So I bought one, threw it in the bottom of the storage cubby in the van. Never thought any more of it. Never learned how to use it, didn't have a way to inflate a tire. Pretty much dumb. Bought one of them and never thought anything more. So then a couple of years later, I thought, man, I really got to learn how to use this thing. So I had an extra spare off an old truck that I traded away and kept the spare by mistake. So I decided to learn on that, and it's a good thing I did, because if anybody had been around, they'd have heard me cuss and swear up a blue streak. These things are difficult to use when you first get started, but once you get the hang of it, they're actually not that bad. So take your time, practice somewhere on an old tire that doesn't matter with no stress, instead of laying on the side of the road on the interstate with cars zooming by trying to figure out how to make this work. So what comes in a tire plug kit? Well, the inexpensive Victor one is one I've recommended for a long time now, and I've got a more expensive all metal bodied tool coming soon, and when I get that in, I'll do a review on that to show you. So what comes in the kit? Really just a couple of things. The rasp, that's this guy right here, he's pointy. You'll see in the video, but he's for going in and out of the plug area that you're going to need to put the plug in. So once you pull the old, whatever it happens to be, screw nail out of there, then you ream this back and forth to make it big enough. This is the plug holder and inserter tool, whatever. And these are the tools. They stick like bubble gum on a hot summer's afternoon. They're hard to get out of there, but they're tough as nails. You pull one out, you thread it through that right there. You almost need to thin it down a little bit. Sometimes I use my teeth. Don't do that because you'll break one. Get it in there, push the plug. You get it halfway through so it's out on both sides. Push the plug 3/4 of the way in and boom, yank it back out. When you do that, if you got it seated right, you've got an airtight seal that's good for 100,000 miles. Well, they don't say it is, but it can be for sure. So like I said, first time you do it, you might get discouraged. It's frustrating, it's hard, it's difficult, but it's a skill worth learning. It is harder than it looks, but once you do it a few times, you'll absolutely get used to it. The front tires are easier than the back because if you can get parked in a spot with the piece, say it's a nail for instance, if you can get parked with that nail on the top part of the tire and have your tire angled like you're turning so that you have access to it without the wheel well, that's beautiful. You'll see the one that I plugged on the car. On my daughter's little car, there was that much room on the back, so I had to do it on an angle. A lot harder to get pressure. So if you can push down, do it. If it's the back one and you're in a real hard way, you can always jack it up, take the tire off, do it, and then put it back on. But if you're in a hurry and want to get it done, you can absolutely plug them with air in them sitting on the car. When you push the plug in, make sure it goes in about 3/4 of the way or a little bit less. I used to just kind of push it in a bit and say, oh, that should be good. Pull it back out and you hear that noise. So make sure you get it in 3/4 of the way, give it a quick yank, you should be all set. And a couple other items to keep in your tire repair kit that don't come with a lot of them. Give yourself maybe a cheap throwaway pair of pliers, vice grips, something. You're going to need something to pull that, whatever the sharp object happens to be, out of the tire. So keep a pair of vice grips or pliers in there. That works good. Then maybe a sharp, really sharp utility knife blade wrapped up in tape, because when you're done, you get the plug in there, you're going to have those two little rabbit ears sticking out. And the last thing you want is them beating, pounding on the pavement and maybe loosening up the plug. So I always trim it back just above the rubber on the tire. So use that. And then, of course, something to inflate your tire. I love my DeWalt inflation station. You might find some 12-volt battery cigarette lighter ones that you can plug in that are pretty good as well, but I'll put a link to the inflator in there. And that's really just about it, guys. So I figured, why not cut to some footage of me absolutely struggling, show you guys the process from start to finish. I cut out my curse words so, you know, we could keep this a G-rated family program. And yeah, we'll show you how it works, and then we'll come back and finish up. So you see that? Right, can you get right down? There is your screw right there. So what we did was I got her to roll ahead because these tires are tight. If it's the front tire, you can end up turning it on an angle and getting it out so you can work on it. The back tires are a pain in the nuts. So what you need to do is get it right where you can work on it. So now we are. Next thing I'm going to do is grab a hold of it with the pliers and see if we can pull it out. First thing I'm going to do before that is I'm going to prep the plug. It's really tight squeeze and pull it halfway through that theory. There we go. So we got that. So now the next thing we need is the rasp. We're going to push that in the hole a few times to open up the hole a little bit bigger, which is kind of funny, but that's what you have to do. Now this is where it can be a real pain. Oh, that's okay. This is why we set the emergency brake. There we go. So what you want to do is work your way back and forth, wiggle it in and out. If it don't fit, wiggle it a bit. Okay. So now, shit. so we'll make the hole a little bit bigger. Sometimes it's easier to have air in the tire too. All right, let's grab the air compressor. We'll pump it up. That'll give us a little. Sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you do. Of course, the tire's in a bad spot. We'll try our best. Stop there for now. So there we are. That is what it looks like, Livy. And we'll trim it off. Hi, Maui. And then there you go. That should be it. And then some soap around it. Make sure there's no bubbles. And Bob's your uncle. All right, so what'd you think of that? It's not as bad as you think, but it's definitely a skill worth learning. So if you got any questions, throw them in the comments below. I'd love to answer them. Always look forward to talking to you guys. Always look forward to spending time in the workshop with you. So as always, guys, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week. Morning, guys. Toolman Tim here. Welcome back to the workshop where we build business, create community, find freedom, and share success. It's Tuesday morning, which means it's time for another installment of Toolbox Tuesday. And as always, I've got an interesting, practical, whatever you want to call it, product to share with you this week. And if you are into emergency preparedness and needing to have a generator, backup power, and that sort of thing, beyond a generator, beyond a good fuel storage, one of the next most important things you need is the boring everyday extension cord. And of course, as you know, I like to scour Amazon. I like to find things that are reasonably priced and a good quality with the features that I need. And I do believe that this extension cord right here meets that. All right, guys, real quick before we dive into the review, if you want to know more about who I am, toolmantim.co. Run by there. You'll see all my social media links, my past podcast appearances, the email newsletter, and most importantly, toolmantim.shop, which is on that same site. You'll find over 100 links to Amazon products that I've used in my handyman business that have either made me money or saved me money. A ton of different categories. We got household, painting supplies, hand tools, cordless tools, landscaping, preparedness items, a whole bunch of different things that meet the Toolman Tim seal of approval. So run by there, check that out. That's toolmantim.co. All right, guys, so this week I figured I would talk about the single most boring item that I could review. Well, maybe not the most boring, maybe that'd be like a sheet of paper or something, but an extension cord. I talk about them all the time. We talk about how important they are. You use them in your workshop, you use them on the job site, and of course we use them when the power's out and we have to run power from our generator. For a long time I've used the Yellow Jacket ones. They're really good. They're a little on the pricier side, but extension cords, when they're full of this kind of copper of a good quality, you're going to pay for them. Now, they've been getting harder and harder to find in Canada. There's less of an availability on Amazon. And I thought, you know what? I've had really good luck with a lot of those Amazon imported products. I've had some bad luck too, but they have a really good return policy. Why not pick up a couple, test them out, and see how these work? So this guy is pronounced Denwin, D-E-W-E-N-W-I-L-S. No, I don't know. I can't pronounce it. All these names, I don't know. Anyway. If you know how to pronounce it, maybe you can spell it out for me in the description, but it's D-E-W-E-N-W-I-L-S. Right there. All right. So for me, some people need longer than a 25-foot extension. My generator is going to be around 20 feet from the back door. That brings everything in, and then I can run maybe a smaller extension cord or whatever. Anyway, 25 feet tend to work well for me. They tend to be the sweet spot. They're not too short, and they're not too long. You go any longer, you're going to need to go with a thicker gauge extension cord as well. I get this a lot. People are like, well, Tim, what gauge extension cord do I need? Or more importantly is, Tim, why do you only buy a 14.3 extension cord? And that's simple, because at a 25-foot run, you don't need any more than a 14 gauge wire. Some people say, well, I like 12, and that's okay. If you like 12, go with 12. But as far as the power requirements for any 1500 watt, 15 amp appliance that you can plug into a normal 110 outlet, 14 gauge is all you need. 14.3 has the ground prong on it. You can plug anything into it. It has the three prong adapters there on the end. So hopefully that settles that. As far as why I go with that, now if I went to a 50 footer, then yes, I'm going to want to go down to a 12 gauge extension cord. And again, you're going to pay more money. But if you're keeping your runs to 25 feet, 14.3 is all you need, at least in my opinion. If you want to go overkill, great. I bought a couple of these. I've tested them out. They run well. They don't get hot. Of course, I haven't been able to test it at its minus 40 capabilities that it says, because you guys know that's important up here in Canada. Gets cold, and when I used to work in the oil patch and we had these heavy-duty extension cords that we used to plug our rig in to keep them warm, they would end up cracking because the cold would be just so bad on their rubber jacketing coating. So we'll see this winter, but as far as the flexibility in the heat and not overheating with 1500 watt items running in it, absolutely. I even read some reviews on Amazon, and a guy had a toaster oven running on this for like an hour straight, and it never overheated. So that's a good sign. So what do I look for in a good extension cord? Number one, right price. Number two, flexibility. Number three, visibility. And number four, hopefully more than just a single outlet on the end of the extension cord. So when I started looking around, this thing checked off all 4 boxes of my requirements for a top quality extension cord. So to me, I thought, let's give this thing a shot. So number one, price. This compared to the yellow jacketed extension cords is about $3 less, and the yellow jacket, same one, 25 foot, 14.3, only comes with a single outlet on the other end. So as far as price goes, 10% better than the yellow jacket. That's about as good as you're going to get on Amazon, because all extension cords are made out of copper, and they're all having to deal with the fact that copper is not cheap. Number two, flexibility. Again, I can only tell you for the heat so far. I'll do another review in the wintertime, but this is supposed to be good from minus 40 Fahrenheit to 140 Fahrenheit. So if you're working above 140 Fahrenheit, you probably shouldn't be outside doing things. And if you're working below minus 40, well, good luck. It rarely gets that here, and I can't imagine it gets where most of you guys are watching this from. Now, visibility, that's a big one. You know, I'll buy pink ones, green ones, blue ones, yellow ones. They all show up really good. And so, of course, the yellow jackets are all that way too. But what I like about this is the light up ends. You see that translucent end there? When you plug it in, you get that little orange glow. Never having to guess when you've got it plugged in on the other end of the generator and you go to the house, you're like, did I plug that in? Did it hit the breaker? Did I turn the power on? All of the above. You know. So that saves you a ton of time when you're troubleshooting, because if you don't have power there, you know, you can look at it and you're like, okay, good, I'm good. I've got power. That's all I need to know. It saves you a ton of time, because I've ended up going back and trying 5 or 6 different things simply because I didn't have power. So if you have that plugged in, you get to the house, good. I know I'm good to go. And number 4, of course, is multiple ends on the outlet. And that's what I was hoping for. I couldn't find even a listing for a yellow jacket cord with 3 ends. I'm sure there is on Amazon, but I did some digging. This guy supersedes that. Of course, it has the 3 on the end. Now, I like the splitters. They're really good, but what I really like about this, the triple tap on the end of it, is the fact that it's one less item, one less accessory that can go to fault. So say you got a 1 prong or a 1 outlet extension cord, you plug that 3 prong in, that's one more thing that can come loose when you're putting it all together. So if it's all attached in part of the extension cord, all the better it is. So yes, this guy is about $3 less, about 10% less than the yellow jacket, and it includes a triple tap on the end. So to me, I thought, you know, it's really worth it, and I've had really good luck with them so far. In the bit of time that I've had them and used them, I've really liked them. And if you're wondering what other people think about it, it's got a 4.8 star review out of over 200 on Amazon. Not a ton of reviews, but 4.8 is really good. So I thought, you know what? Other people like it. I read through the reviews. Everybody says it does what it needs to do. It's an extension cord. You plug it in, it gives you power. So if you can save money on an extension cord, all the better. I told you, 14.3 is all I use for a 25 footer. It works great for me. If you want to go overkill and spend extra money on a 12, all the better. At the time of filming this, it's about $24 American for this guy. But again, these prices fluctuate depending on the worldwide price of copper. But if you're looking for an extension cord that meets the Toolman Tim seal of approval, this guy right here. I'll put the link in the description below so you guys can check it out. I know that extension cords can be a bit boring, but if you're a 40-year-old guy like me, it's one of the things that gets you out of bed in the morning. You like this kind of stuff. And I know you guys are always looking for good recommendations. That's why I pick up some of this stuff, give it a go, test it out, and then report back to you, good, bad, or ugly. All right, guys, that's it for me on this extension cord for this week. If you're new and you want to see 5 videos a week, hit that subscribe button. We got tool and preparedness stuff coming out all the time. And if you do hit the subscribe button and you're new, introduce yourself in the description or in the comments below. I'd love to know who you are so we can interact as a community. If you guys have any suggestions on any other extension cords you'd like to see me try out or any other items period you'd like to see me review, let me know, because I get probably 50% or more of my video ideas straight from you guys, the community. And if it's stuff you want to see and it's stuff I want to make, I know it's stuff you'll want to watch. So thanks, guys. And I always appreciate you dropping by and hanging out with me here in the workshop. So as always, guys, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week. Hey guys, Toolman Tim here. Welcome back to the workshop where we build business, create community, find freedom, and share success. It's Wednesday, which means it's time for another Tool Time Gear review. And I've got a slightly different one for you this week. This week, I've been working through some of my more popular videos, some of the ones that I get the most questions asked. So here, this week, I want to do a 1 year later review on my Joan, Joaan, Amazon Basic security system. How much I love it, what I've learned, what you guys have asked me, and would I still buy it 1 year later. Guys, real quick, if you're new here, if this is the first time watching a video from my channel and you want to know more about who I am, toolmantim.co. Run by there. It'll show you my social media links, the monthly newsletter, the weekly podcast, and the shop where I got over 100 products recommended that I've used in my business that have made me money or saved me money. Solutions to problems like I spilled paint on vinyl siding and I need to clean it up. What do I do? So run by there, check that out. So last year's video when I started this security system, I started just this old feller with the big grizzly beard sitting down in my office rambling to myself with the green walls. I thought, hey, let's start out in the shop, break up the monotony for you guys a little bit. So we'll cut down here in just a second to the office. You'll see the security system in action. I'll share with you some of the things I've learned over the last year and at least 2 upgrades. Yeah, at least 2 upgrades I've made to it that I've really enjoyed so far. So let's cut to that and I'll see you in a minute. All right, guys, so here I am down in my wonderful lime green office. The one room in the house that hasn't been painted in the 2+ years we lived here, so I hope you enjoy it. But I couldn't figure out a better way to display the camera, the system, all while it's running. It's basically where I had it last year, except I had it lower, moved it up to the upper shelf. It sits just above my camera where I do my live streams from, and it seems to be tucked away and works really well. So I thought I'd slam through some of the questions that people have asked in the reviews from last year before, and we'll go from there. So the first one was, hey, can you still record on this system without internet? And yes, what I absolutely love about this system is it's 100% self-contained. As long as you pick yourself up a hard drive to go in your PVR, you're all set. It'll record, there's just no way to access it except being physically around the PVR. So if you're using this as an off-grid recording system, you're going to have to physically go there to download your video. You get about a month's storage capacity, which I'll talk about. But yes, you do not need the internet. The only thing you need the internet for is a hardwired connection in the back so that you can access remotely through the app. So you have to hook this up hardwired so that you can then access Wi-Fi through the app to see your recordings. Number 2, can you help me figure out the motion settings? So they're a little bit complicated, but they're not too bad. You basically just go in here, you right click, bring up the settings, and it's going to say motion detect. And basically all that does is it just records any time that there is motion involved. When I first did the review, I didn't realize that was even an option. So yes, there is an option in here to just record when there's motion. However, There's not an option to send you a text or an SMS alert or anything like that to let you know that there's basically motion. So the plus side to it is you can record for weeks or months because you're only recording when there's something physically moving on the screen. The downside is it just doesn't send you an alert. So then someone else again said, what's the need for the internet connection if all the storage is internal? Well, again, it's totally off-grid. It's wonderful for that. But if you want to be able to access it remotely, you have to have a Wi-Fi hardwired connection to allow you to connect to the Wi-Fi. The next one is, what do you need to be able to see the cameras on your phone? Well, you know, I've talked about it. Hardwired in the back, and then the Denali, D-A-N-A-L-E app in the iPhone or Android store. Get it hooked up. And it took me a few minutes to get it running, but once I had it running, it was absolutely great. Now, here's something. I had someone ask me a while back, and I made a mistake. I need to correct it in my original review. But I said, there's no way to access previously viewed footage from your phone. When I'd been playing with the app, all I could find was the live feed. Anyway, you can go into the app and find previously viewed. You go into device, DVR, and then it allows you to access it back through. So that's wonderful. Once I found that, that blew me out of the water. So I apologize in the previous review. I hadn't found it, couldn't find it. The app isn't super intuitive, so play around with it, but you will find that in there. So what, out of the box, because I love this Amazon security system. I have used it, like I said, it's like a silent soldier sitting there 24/7 all the time, just recording in case something happens. What do you need out of the box? Well, it's gone back and forth. Over the last year, I've looked at the listings. I've probably sold through my Amazon affiliates a dozen or so of these. The video has been viewed almost 6,000 times. And depending on when you buy it, look at the description. It'll either say no drive or drive included. So if it says no drive, you need to buy a hard drive. You need a hardwired Ethernet cable if you want to be able to access through the internet. And one other thing I added was an old LCD computer monitor TV screen so that I could watch it here and access it without needing to pull it off onto a computer. That's really all you need. But for the price of it, wow, is it ever awesome. Then I had another question from another community member, and they wanted to know, does it come with all the wires you need to install all of your cameras? And that's a resounding yes. Every one of them. I've got a big house. It's like, well, it's not huge, but around 40 feet long and about 24 feet wide. And I never had any issue running all of the cables that I needed that came included, including the AC adapter, down the side of the house, down underneath the siding, and in through the basement. They all worked great. I wanted to have hardwired simply because I find a wireless signal can get interrupted, and our Wi-Fi has been really crappy lately around here. It just keeps dropping, we're losing it. So I am so glad I went with hardwired. So after using it for a year, I've realized, yes, I get about a month of storage with the 2 terabyte hard drive. I've got 5 cameras now, so I made an upgrade, so we'll talk about that. I bought an extra 1080p hardwired security camera. You just want to make sure that it comes with a coax and an AC power cable. The only thing mine didn't come with was an AC adapter. And this set only comes with a splitter for 4. So if you want to power the new camera, you need to have its own separate AC adapter. So look to order one of those when you order the rest. I'll have links to all that because we had a blind spot on the back of the house. I couldn't really get a close-up of the back door, and that's where everybody comes and goes. So I added a 5th camera. I was able to eliminate my old pan, tilt, zoom, wish camera that I had up there. The only thing I missed about it was it had two-way audio. These don't have audio, which is a shame, but it's neither here nor there. Now the one I bought ended up being maybe not quite as clear as the 4 that came with this. So I swapped one of these out for my backdoor camera and used the other one for the big wide angle camera. And that has worked really well. Came with way too long of a cable. I got way too much extra, but it was cheap and it installed super easy. The connections are a bit of a pain. The coax are so hard on the fingers and they're so close together to get them connected. You almost need needle nose pliers to snap them into place and unsnap them. But then the AC adapter power cables are the complete opposite. They tend to want to fall apart. So I taped them all together and I was still having a drop signal every so often. I retaped them all and it's been really, really good. But just be careful because there's really no friction fit. They just kind of slide in together. And if you're not careful, they'll absolutely just kind of pull apart and then you lose your signal. You don't want that. So as far as low wattage goes, this entire system, including the monitor, is 13 watts. Ran it through. I included that in the last video, but I want you guys to know this is an incredible off-grid option for video surveillance systems. So what do I plan on this for down the road? I'd love to get another camera on the outside of my shop. The problem is it's out beyond the backyard, which you really can't see, back past the hot tub, all the way back there. And I don't know how I'm going to get a hardwired cable connection through there. We'll see. But what I found was when I had these four plus the Wish camera, I was using 2 different apps, 2 different interfaces, and it was a real pain in the butt. So I wanted to have everything centralized into one app. That's why I added the 5th camera to the back. And I will figure out, I'll probably run conduit or something and get it out to the back of the house, maybe facing toward the garage, but I need something to keep an eye on all my tools. It's the only thing outside of my backyard fence. 2 things, the USB port on the back, I've never used it to export footage. I'm sure it works great, but it's not a feature I obviously needed. And in the last video, I mentioned I'd love to get a UPS, a universal power supply. Haven't done it yet. I probably will. With the generator, it's not as important, but I am going to order a couple, and this will be one of the few things that's plugged in, so it's uninterrupted. So as far as 1 year later goes, am I happy with it? Yes. Would I have bought it again? Yes. Was it worth the money? Yes. You guys sensing a theme here? I absolutely love this damn camera. As far as inexpensive, it's like 200 bucks Canadian, and it came with basically everything I needed except for the hard drive. And on the US, it's even cheaper. So check it out. If you guys are looking for something on Amazon that is, man, it's basically dirt cheap and it just works. What I love about this thing, quick story. So we were away, 3 hours away. We were spending a couple of nights in a hotel, and my mother-in-law's dog had an accident. He was okay, thank goodness, but we had to come back early. And when we came back, just luckily so, it was on a Saturday afternoon, almost an evening, my garage door was wide open. I thought somebody must have broke in. What the hell went on? I couldn't figure it out. I had the camera, give me peace of mind. I went back through, and I'm watching the neighborhood kids play up and down the alley, and all of a sudden, the door just opens on its own. Interference or something. You can see the little girl, she goes, "Oh, what happened there?" And then she goes on to keep playing. But if I hadn't had the camera, I would have always thought, somebody was in my garage. What the hell did they steal? Why did they leave my garage door open? And it freaked me out. Anyway, it did turn out that I had a faulty garage door opener, and down the road, that's what was causing interference with my cordless mic as well. So I eliminated it, but at the time, I wouldn't have had peace of mind. So if nothing else, it paid for itself on that one day alone. But I love, you know, if we're away and the dogs are out in the yard, we can log in and check on the dogs just to make sure they're not being idiots. You know, we can see if parcels have been left. If a parcel goes missing, that's a whole nother story. All of that. So if you're looking for a low-cost, high-quality, hardwired security system from Amazon, the Joonn, Jooan, is the way to go. I'll meet you back out in the shop. All right, guys, so I hope you enjoyed that look at the security system 1 year later. I know I love it more now than I did before. It's just like the silent soldier that just sits there watching guard all the time. The thing has worked great. So if you have any questions regarding this security system, where to get it, all that, the links are in the description below. Leave me a comment or a question if you're new. I'd love to meet you, learn who you are. You can interact and share your knowledge with the community. So thanks, guys, and as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week. Thanks again, guys, for dropping by the weekly workshop. A new edition drops every week, so keep an eye out. And if you're looking for a solution to such problems as, I spilled paint on vinyl siding, or I can't get this heavy picture to stay on the wall, stop by toolmantim.co and check out the Today's Tool section, where I share products and tools that have either made me money or saved me money personally or in my long-running year-round handyman business. And if you found value in this content, please take a moment and share it on your social platform of choice. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.